Grand Rising. How you doing? This is your Coach Renz, and welcome to Why I Left Religion with Coach Renz. And today, unfortunately, gotta let the Christians know they missed the rapture. They missed the end times. Well, they didn't happen, but they missed it because it wasn't for them right now. That's going to be our topic of discussion today. We'll give about 5 minutes to let people get on, and then we're going to get it going. You let me know who you are when you come in. And then we'll get started. Grand Rising Mark, Grand Rising Debbie, how we doing? Welcome to the show. We're going to talk about how Revelation is never going to come. They thought it was going to come back at the end of the day, but it didn't happen like they expected it to happen. How y'all been? It's the middle of the week of Texas. So, one of the things that we always hear about is Christians running around. The time is coming. The time is near. You're going to run out of time. You better hurry up. You're going to wish that you had on the great day of judgment. When I was a Christian, I could never really, I always told people, even then I didn't really believe in the concept of a one world ending scenario by a deity. I always thought back then that your end time was just whenever you die. Right? That's what I used to teach as a Christian. Your end time is when you die. You'll go through all the four horsemen type deals or whatever. I was trying to make it work because you had all these false, hey, this is when the end time is going to happen. So I was trying to make it work as a Christian. And even then, when I was saying that, it still wasn't necessarily working for me. I was saying it, trying to convince myself and other people, but it still wasn't working. But you thought that as well, Austin? Yep. Grand Rising Elise. Grand Rising Austin. Madeira. Grand Rising Margarita. Yeah. I thought that was my rationale. Had to eat a little blueberry chocolate. Blueberry chocolates from Barbecue Smoke Gourmet Chocolates. Great before cigar. No. Grand Rising RG. Often. I tried to rationalize that as a Christian when I was a Christian. Okay. Everybody goes through it on their own. Grand Rising, was that queso? Yeah, queso. Is it queso? Or queso. Oh yeah, barbecue and smoked chocolates. I'm helping him to develop his company so that he's not only just in the cigar world, but to get out there. But it's great chocolates. Trinidad and Tobago. How the island people want to make me feel bad today. Mark Brett come on here with his old island stuff. But I wanted to make it work. I tried to make it work. I was like, Revelation is the most fear-based thing that they have. That, if you really think about those 7 years of tribulation, the last 3.5, it's something. And yes, at one point, I mean, I was like those people waiting for what was the book series? It was just in my head. Left Behind. I was all into Left Behind, that series. I was, as soon as one, and back then that book series came, when that book series came out, that's when I owned the sunglass and watch shop in a mall up in Rome, Georgia, and it was like slow as hell in the early parts of the day. So I was reading Fanatic, and I would read that Left Behind book in like 2 days, as soon as it come out. And that book had me terrified because it painted the pictures in your mind. You know, if when you read, you create a movie. When you read, that's me. I create the movie when I read something. I visualize it the entire time I'm reading it. And so, reading that Left Behind series, I was seeing it. You know, the guy who had his head, big chop on his head, who was actually a turned Christian, but they couldn't see the mark. You know, it was, I could see everything. So that book had me terrified. Had me wanting to go back there. Forget all this questioning and stuff. I'm going back to Christianity. I'm going to stay with Christianity rather. But then a few years later, I was like, hell no. I used to hate singing the song as a child that said, Jesus loves me and the Bible tells me so. No, you won't. How's that song go? Jesus loved me. This I know. Tell me so. Yeah. I can see how they can gain the reference for it, but it's not literally written in there. All they preached about was fear when you went to a church as a teenager. That's how, look, there's only two ways. It's two ways to get people to move people, motivate people. You can motivate them through fear of their own self-preservation, right? Or you motivate them through their greed. Not that greed is bad. It's like the old movie. Greed is good. But how it's applied to what degree, that what makes it good or bad. Right. The fact of the matter is, those are the two things. That's why you see the biggest forms of preaching that creates mega churches. They're either promoting fear or they're promoting greed, which is what do they call it? What the monetizing worship, whatever the little get money worship is, get money type churches are called. Prosperity preaching. Thank you. Prosperity preaching. So because of that, prosperity preaching, you got that's based on an individual person's greed, them wanting to have more, live a better life in the now. And a lot of those prosperity, they don't preach that much fear. And then the ones who preach about fear, they don't preach much about prosperity. Now, some of the best, they can skirt right in the middle. And they get a little bit of everybody. Don't forget the mark of the beast is 666. We're going to get into that mark of the beast. Mark of the beast, it's not even 666. And then for the people going to say it's melanin, it ain't nothing to do with that. Because what do you do when you look at the Latin translation and it's 616? Mm-hmm. There's that part. I'm gonna tell y'all right now, I don't have any bullet points. We just talking. They say Jesus is supposed to save you from death, dog. I'm going to die regardless. Grand Rising Matata. Yeah, Matata. The whole Jesus is supposed to save you. You know, I used to argue with people. Pre-rapture, post-rapture. Jesus said that there will be those in this generation who will not taste death, right? Grand Rising Maya. So since Jesus had said, and according to Paulinian Christianity, there will be those who, of this generation, who will not taste death. He was literally, this is why they expected Jesus to return before Paul died. That was the expectation. This generation meant 40 years. They thought he was going to come back and topple the Roman government within the next 40 years. And it didn't happen. This is why this book is not written for us. Written to talk about a revelation that's going to happen in the future. Also, the number 666 or 616, depending upon which language you're looking at, whether it's the Greek or the Latin, it stands for Nero. It's really a treatise on the Vespasian, on the Flavians, adding more propaganda, adding more negative propaganda towards Nero. Everything doesn't come about Nero. They weren't talking about black people. They weren't talking about some antichrist. They were talking about Nero. I just found out that Jeb, the Egyptian god of the earth, is Joseph from the Bible. Okay, you have to explain that one. I've never heard anybody try to make that connection. Because how can Jeb be Joseph when Jeb came before Joseph? Or do you mean that Jeb is that Joseph is a representation of Jeb? And which Joseph? A couple of Josephs. But anyway, as the haven gets that prepared up, Grand Rising Brett. So, yeah, so when we were studying, when you study that, when you look at it from the actual writings, and then I had Jesus Father. That don't make sense to me. Because Jeb is the waters, the salt waters. Newt was the waters of the heavens, the fresh water. And they were locked in an embrace. That doesn't make sense. Jeb being Joseph being representing Jeb. I don't see it. You have to explain it. I don't know. That's venturing off into something that it's not making any sense to me. But so back to Revelation, back to the end of the world, because that's not something I can't offer much conversation towards. When they wrote that there will be two in the field and one will be taken, this is where most Christians get their idea of a rapture. But they were literally talking about during the time frame of the Roman Empire, that through persecution, they will come and take one and leave the other. And those things did happen. Like under Emperor Domitian, he persecuted Christians, and he would take them from the field or whatever, take them from the houses. But what they don't talk about is Domitian persecuted a bunch of other smaller religions as well, and they persecuted the Jews as well. If your religion caused you to not pay them taxes, you got persecuted. Grand Rising, Miss Prissy. But they were expecting Jesus to come back and overthrow the Roman government, to set up a 1,000-year reign on earth of peace and tranquility of Jesus. The new city of Jerusalem is supposed to descend down and all this kind of thing. It didn't happen during the Roman Maccabees and the time of the Maccabees, the wars against the Greeks, which is the Maccabeans. It didn't happen during the wars against the Romans. And so you get Jesus. You got 4 different versions of Jesus, according to Josephus. And it didn't happen. So then Paul, they say he's going to come back. Oh, they took this, we would make this story. And I've heard this story from another person. So you got this long game of telephone. And then you get people writing about this Jesus character who never even met this Jesus character, who never met none of the Jesuses. And then you start expanding the story. And because this religion is going through about 300 years of not being a legal religion, being persecuted, they gain their following. When you are a religion that's telling poor people that the meek will inherit the earth and the last will be first and the first will be last, and then the government is, you can take your religion and swerve it to make it seem like the government and nature fits, you get following. You get more and more people. Grand Rising A, Grand Rising K-Sun. Jewish mythology and Judaism, Jeb was God reduced into the biblical character of Joseph, i.e. J Slab, or the god Jeb, the stepfather of Jesus, just as Jeb was the mythical father of Osiris. You throwing me off on that one. Grand Rising Oki. Yeah, they're playing on people's emotions. I've always, like, if I wanted to, that was one of the things that made me not want to, when I was a young little Christian man, being a deacon and all that, I was not going to play on people's emotions. And that's what that whole end time does. If there's one thing that the overwhelming majority of the people on the planet are afraid of, and that is death. What happens after death? Grand Rising Brian. What happens after death? And most people are afraid of it. And because of that, when you got a story like Revelation, which is very scary, if you think about it, children shouldn't be reading that book. It's easy to get those people caught up. It's easy to get those people emotionally tied in out of fear, because most people don't ever overcome their fear of death. Even when they get close to it, Grand Rising Damon, they don't overcome it. There were moments that I've seen, the people that some people I've been around in their times of death, there was moments that I saw that they were fearful. because of the absolute unknown. Because let's be real. Nobody knows what's going to happen after death. Nobody actually knows. There's no proof. Near-death experience is exactly what they are. Near. It's not full-fledged. I was once there, but I've experienced way too many supernatural things to not believe. To not believe in what? Because that's the thing. When we are experiencing near deaths, when we are experiencing the world and things that we say are supernatural, we automatically attach them to whatever we believe. Triple X, me too. Supernatural things that had nothing to do with the Bible. If you give me a person who's a Muslim and say, and they, oh, I've experienced some supernatural things, that right there is proof to me that Allah exists. Do you think Jesus had reached the Buddha mind, the Christ consciousness? No. None of the Jesus character, even the Jesus character in the Bible, which is legendized, which you can make him be whatever you desire for him to be, doesn't reach the Christ mind. The Gospel of Thomas gets him close, but still fails. Even if you go to the last one, it still fails. Right. And Paul, Grand Rising Paul, what's up, bro? Like supernatural is not natural. I'll use that term, supernatural. But what are we really saying when he calls something supernatural? It is supernatural is something that is beyond our understanding of our current understanding of nature. You know, imagine way back in the day, they didn't understand what a meteorite was. So when they saw a meteorite, they thought it was a star falling. So it was supernatural to their understanding. It was beyond the nature of their understanding. So even when we have what we call a supernatural experience today, it's just a natural experience that's beyond our understanding of nature. Grand Rising woke friends. I'm listening to Coach Friends and watching The View. This Grand Rising the Queens. I don't know if it's God or Jesus, but I know there is something out there. Call it what you may. I'm with you. Okay, I understand what you're saying. And like I accept. For me, I don't foresee my consciousness just dissipating into nothingness. We don't even fully understand what the consciousness is yet. Still, we still searching. But I know I got one. I know I got one. You got one. We all got one right now. It's one of those things that, like, I may not understand why X happens, but I do know that X does exist. So I don't know. I have a consciousness. I have a brain. I have this thing that is beyond anything else on this planet. How it came about, what happens to it, I don't know. But I know it exists. When I look at its complexity, if it doesn't disperse, how can it become a blade of grass? This is where I fall out with Buddhists, or how can it become a blade of grass or a tree or a lion? The complexity of your consciousness, if never dissipated, then you would be a lion knowing that you used to be a human. You walk around, be a talking human. I mean, a talking lion. Grand Rising Christian. So Is there something after? I don't think that the energy of your consciousness is ever destroyed. The thermodynamics teaches us that. So there has to be something. And since our consciousness is at that level, and we can create in our mind, you can create a universe in your mind right now. Imagine your mind totally unfeathered by the construct of the matter plane existence. There's no telling what you could create. You create your own. From based on as much information as I can gain in this matter plane existence, when you leave the poverty of this body, you will create whatever you most believe is going to happen next. That's the deal. What's coming next? Ramses. No, I ain't talking to you. You ain't came up here yet. Now, I know you're working, my guy. So I agree with you, Kazan. There's something, but I think we create whatever it really is. But see, when you read these books of Revelation, you start to believe whatever you're now believing, and will create what somebody has told you. What's the origin of the word supernatural? Where did it come from? Actually, I have no idea. Etymology of the word supernatural. It derived from the medieval Latin supernaturalis, from Latin super, above, beyond, or outside of, plus nature. Although the culinary term nature has had multiple meanings since the ancient world. The term supernatural emerged in the Middle Ages and did not exist in the ancient world. Ain't that something? I didn't know it didn't exist in the ancient world. You know, it's one of those words that you think has been around, that they would have figured that one out. But I guess since they gave everything to God, they didn't think it was supernatural. It was miracles. Going to sleep and dying are the same thing. Yeah. For my Star Trek fan, I know Norman. I don't know if Norman is on here. Grand Rising Marcus. There was an episode in Star Trek Generations when Q was turned into a human, and the Q don't sleep, and he was terrified. Just going to sleep terrified him, and going into this state of not in control of your consciousness, and he was like horrified, and he thought that he was dying. Well, he thought he was dying at first when he was hungry, and he thought he was like everything going black. He was like, that's the closest a Q ever can experience what death is, because they were eternal, or at least they thought they were. So going to sleep is like the closest thing that we have to normal, like a normal person, the regular person's experience to death, unless you've had an actual near-death experience where you went into a coma, or you flatlined, which even flatlining is not death. So when I was when I was in high school, we was having one of those career weeks. And I remember talking to an anesthesiologist, because that was one of the things I was interested in at the time frame. And I remember, and it stuck out to me, he was like, and I'm not going to quote it correctly, but at the time in 1989, he said that we understand. He said there are, I think he said something like 12, 15, maybe 20 different levels of death, of life and death. And we only understand 3. And he was 3 or 4, something like that, some smaller number. And he was saying, as an anesthesiologist, we're taking people into like the first level of death or second level of death, depending upon the surgery and that sort of thing. But there are deeper levels that a person can sink into, and still be revived is the point that he was trying to make. And the study of anesthesiologists is to be able to take people to those lower levels and still revive them. And I remember that was demonstrated. If you remember the Shaka Zulu series, if you're old enough to have watched the Shaka Zulu series, one of the moments that stuck out is when there was a funeral scene. To the Zulu people, the woman had died, but the Dutch doctor recognized that she was still alive, and so he brought her back. And so the Zulu in the movie, in the series, they portrayed him as they made it seem like he knew how he had a fountain of youth, he could bring back life. And then Shaka wanted him to be resuscitated. It was just a higher understanding of medicine at the time, right? Of life. And then, of course, that's been demonstrated multiple times in the Star Trek series, where a person is would be dead to us in our technology and understanding, but to them, you could be brain dead. I think there was one episode where a person was brain dead, and they knew that if you've been brain dead for less than an hour, they could bring you back. If it's more than an hour, they couldn't. So we're still discovering those types of things. Oh yeah. We're still trying to figure that stuff out. We still don't know. There could be levels. There are people who are considered dead, but if we understood it even more, there's a lot of people who probably wouldn't die. The Ethiopian eunuch was reading. He was reading, and he was led to the slaughter, to the slaughter as a sheep. Open not his mouth. The spirit of Thomas from point A to point B, where the Ethiopian eunuch was in his chair. Africans had the ability to telepathically travel. It was natural, not supernatural. The same as telling if the dream chose the story. All this was happening for culture and spirituality. I'm not sure. See, I'm thinking that you're talking about one thing, but I'm not sure what you're talking about there, Brent. Are you talking about the Ethiopian eunuch that was supposedly had that Simon or somebody met on the side of the road and he was reading Isaiah? Or are you talking about I've never heard anybody say that they had this telepathic ability to travel. You have to walk that out a little bit more, bro. Go. What makes you say that? What evidence is there of that? I walked outside my body when I was a kid and watched myself. There's no death, but there's an energy that can be explained. For sure, supernatural is real. No, I agree. I've had out of body experiences, astral travel. If I go into intense meditation, I can do it. I can force it, create it. So I don't doubt it. I don't doubt that there is, and I don't doubt that telepathy and telekinesis is an ability. I tell y'all every day I try to levitate something. I'm trying to levitate something. I know that we can receive each other's thoughts. Grand Rising T-Slaw. And most of y'all have experienced it, especially when you're in deep connection with a person. Y'all be thinking the same thing, or you think something and that person does it. Hell, there has been quite a few times where me and Angelina would have the exact same thought, or I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, and it can be something simple. I want a bottle of water, and then she just brings it. I hadn't said anything. I wasn't demonstrating the need for it or anything. Or there was a few other things that happened between her and I, where either I was thinking something or she, I don't know who initiated the thought, but the thought was initiated, and then both of us went to go do the exact same thing. And there was nothing that would have led either one of us to go do it beyond the thought entering our mind. Do you know what ancient cultures and current indigenous cultures thought about the afterlife for people who die, and what other spiritual realms they go to if they don't reincarnate here? I mean, I know some of them, I don't know all of them. Like for the Nubio-Kemetic people, they believe that if you made it into the field of reeds, then you would pretty much live a similar life that you live now, just originally with Anubis, and then it got switched over to living with Osiris or Asar. The Hopi, I believe, they thought their spirit would ascend and go to the sky people. The Greeks, they thought that you would go to, originally the Greeks, you just went to Hades, and it was kind of like, it wasn't a bad place, but then it got turned into a bad place. And then you ascend, and you not there with the gods in Olympus, but you close, like a middle ground. But most believe that most of them had some type of afterlife that was similar to your current life. You know, it was but it was a bit more, it was better. There was more paradise to it. Our bodies are wired to have these experiences, but there's really nothing there. I wouldn't say that there's nothing there. Grand Rising Carter, 5 dot. It's Sadat. It's dot. Sadat. So you Sadat to me. I wouldn't say that there's nothing there. It might be a different dimensional plane. And it could be something as simple as that. Just a higher dimensional plane that doesn't exist in our matter plane, but exists more of our energetic plane. And you go and start your life on the energetic plane. Soulmating? Possible. And you can soulmate with multiple people, not just one person. Like, and it doesn't always have to be romantic. Like my boy Brandon, if I sit here and think about him long enough, that fool will text me. Right? So synchronization, I can get down with that one. Was that the first time ever she brought you a bottle of water or something to eat, or a lighter perhaps? I use torches, sir. Use torches with cigars. You do not use a lighter with a cigar. Oh my gosh, that's blasphemy. That's cigar blasphemy. But no, it's not the first time. As for projecting a sore subject for you, did you get lost? And I'm not being funny. I mean, there were some people that got afraid during astral projecting because they had this time frame where they couldn't find their body. Family always thought I was crazy. I literally dreamed about people, places, and events before they happened. Oh yeah, that deja vu is an interesting thing. What is it? The sons of Mithra used to say that their time is a river ever flowing in a circle, and we can pluck. And you can pluck yourself in and out of any space. Because time is relative. It's weird that as big as the brain, we only use 10%. No, we use more than 10%. That's been misconstrued by people. We use 100% of our brain. It's just that any given moment, we may only be using 10% for what we're working on. Like, let's say you're painting, then when you're painting, you may only be using this creative part of your brain. You're not using your logical brain at the moment, but your logical brain still, you still use it. So we're using all of our brain. We just we don't use it all at the same time, right? Right, you get ready to call somebody and they call you. Yeah, the two of you are thinking of the same people that is connecting. Occam's razor, the the simplest answer is usually the right answer. Right, but the simplest answer known is that energy does not die. Your consciousness, your brain, your body, everything is energy. It doesn't die. Your consciousness doesn't die. You obviously have one. So nothingness is not the simplest answer. A wood match to a cigar? Yes, or a wood match, exactly. I don't use a wood match. Some cedar. I always keep some cedar with me. I like the cedar and then use the cedar. Zippos are for cigarettes. Well, okay, the key is butane. Lighter fluid, the chemicals flavoring gets into the cigar and messes up the flavor of the tobacco. So even with a pipe, I don't use I wouldn't use the lighter fluid. So you need wood or butane so that it's clean and you only get the flavor of the cigar. And blunts. I don't smoke blunts. Right. Who didn't reincarnate here is Elysium. Thank you. Elysium is their heaven. I knew there was it wasn't exactly with the gods, but it was another place, right? Into the fields of Elysium or the Elysian fields. Yes, there was a movie in 2013 called Elysium with Matt Damon. Love that movie. That damn the Medbeds. It was that you think the main thing is getting to the Medbeds, man. And there are people who say that okay, I got to go to Sedona. Like we're gonna organize, y'all. For all my people who like the alien stuff, we're gonna organize a trip to Sedona, right? And there's a tour there, an alien tour, and the woman, one of my guys went, one of my cigar guys went, and he was telling me that she was talking about how you got these two different. She says they're aliens. I think they're pre-Younger Dry civilizations. They're fighting, and one of the sides that's winning is the side that has medbeds, and they want to give us these medbeds when they win. I have a desire to believe her, right? I don't know if she produces any kind of facts or anything like that, but I have a desire to believe her because I have a desire for the medbed. I want the medbed. Imagine being able to get into a medbed and it fixes every disease or chronic issue in your body, and you basically can live as long as you want to live, and barring accidents. Yeah, give me the medbeds to get back that 30-year-old feeling. I was thinking about that last night. Like, I realized, when I used to see older people, I'm like, why are they scared to jump? Or why they go down the stairs slow or so cautious about their movements? And I realized that because I was coming down the stairs and the way that my knees was hitting on was feeling. I was like, this is why they developed that cautiousness. This is why old people move the way they move, because the body, you recognize your aches and pains better. So give me the damn med bed. I don't like this thought. Does anybody else get headaches at the back base of your head after what? because I do sometimes I can get a headache right here. I believe your mind is development process of living. I believe your mind is a development process of living and living to gain truth, knowledge, and self to the fullest to know the true creator. So time has no play, just energy, right? And I understand what you're saying, Dot. Your mind is just, I think it's just constantly developing, constantly growing. Is your friend calling you now? No. It's not like, oh, I just thought about Brandon right then and then he'll call me. But if I focus on him and just think about him or just, and I have the desire to talk to him, then he'll call. And I'm not saying this 100% every time, but most of the time, if I'm talking to him, talking about him, like if I'm having a conversation and I'm just talking about the memories, that the things that we've done, then he'll call or text at, during that time frame or within like the next hour or two, he'll call or text. Cedar's great for smudging. Didn't know that. Have you seen Interstellar with Matthew McConaughey? I sure did. Just saw that about 4 or 5 months ago. Which the idea that there's a extra dimension, that within the next dimensional plane, time ceases to exist and you can travel to different aspects of time. And I think his was just, you can see different time frames within your lifetime and you can affect those time frames, because he was the one to push the book. He was the one pushing the books out. And then what they figured out, did they figure out a way for him to get out, or he figured out how to get out? I can't remember which one it was, but going into the black hole, the realm, the outer realm of the black hole. Yeah, it was a good movie. I enjoyed that movie. It's one of those movies that I plan to do a esoteric breakdown of, since there was an agreement of people saying that, doing those kind of videos, they would like to see those. Oh, you hate when they depict humans with similar bodies? T-Saw, is that what you're saying? Oh, after projecting. No, I don't get headaches in the back of my head. I don't get those after I do that. Actually, I feel great after I do that. The Others with Nicole Kidman. What is that one? I've seen it. I know that movie. The Others with Nicole Kidman. Right. Man, Paul, when I first saw that movie, I was pissing off people in the movie theater, because I'm talking like no more than 10 minutes into the movie, I was like, oh, her and them kids, they dead. They the ghost. People in the movie theater were mad as hell at me, because it was like, you've already seen this. I was like, no. I said, but can't you tell? I was like, the people around me were not happy. But I didn't mean to say it loud though. But that's a great movie. That's a great movie. They were still attached to the memories of their life and had to go through the process of realizing that they had died. It was a good movie. I haven't seen that one. Man, how old is that movie? Because I seen it when it first came out in theaters, 2001. Good gosh, that movie is 22 years old. It's shit like that is irritating. when you can say, "Oh yeah, I remember seeing that movie." It's 22 years old, and you know you were a full-fledged adult 22 years ago. Like done been to the Marine Corps, been in combat, uh, kids, all this stuff, and it's like, yeah. But that was a great, great movie because she was thinking she was living in a house that was haunted by previous people, but they were haunting the people who had just moved into the house, and then they thought that because the people who had moved into the house were doing things, and they thought that was the haunting. So it was like both groups thought that they were being haunted by each other. The living was being haunted by the dead, and the dead being haunted by the living. Great. Of course, look, I love my animated movies. I just watched an animated movie last night. Superhero movie, but it's animated. But yeah, this Soul with Jamie Foxx. Great movie. Great movie. You watch it all the time? Okay. Well, you said, yeah, if it's your best, you think it's the best movie ever, you will watch those. Yeah, I did. I gave away that movie, but I realized I was just like, oh, them people. I remember too. I can see the people's face. If like they could walk, I can walk. If I saw them right now, and they were like, "Oh man, you look familiar," I'd be like, "Yeah," because 22 years ago you were sitting in front of me, or you were the person that was next to me or was behind me when I blurted out the damn movie of the others, accidentally, of course. You know, uh, that's why like when I go watch a Marvel movie, I have to keep myself quiet because I know all the comic books. I know most of the comic books. So when the storyline is good or off or what should happen, should not happen, I already know it. But those kind of movies, I figure them out in a heartbeat. Idiocracy. What are you talking about? Is that a movie? We're supposed to be talking about Revelations. End times not coming, not happening. Yeah. Other than Tuesday, I should just put up, Wildlife Religion with Crocherians. Whatever the hell. That's the title. Whatever the hell. Do you watch Bill Maher? No. I've seen clips of him, but I don't watch him. But yeah, we still kind of talk about the whole afterlife thing, so I guess it fits. Because people have had their own ideas of afterlives, and they've matured. They've changed. I'm gonna say matured. They've changed depending upon the culture. Um, but when this book of Revelations was written, this was written for the Roman times. This was written for then. This wasn't written for now. You know. And then people extrapolate all types of, they try to modernize it. Um, the four horsemen. If you was writing that today, you wouldn't say that they were riding horses. You would probably call them the four politicians. There'll be four political leaders. Four political leaders. One will bring pestilence, another disease. Oh, see, it's the president of China or whatever they call him in China. He's the horseman, whichever one that represents disease, because um, he is the one who engineered COVID and spread it across the world. Or if it was back during the time frame of in the 80s, I think it was Margaret Thatcher. She's the horseman of disease because she's, in England, they created AIDS and then spread it around the world. They got out of control. And so she's pestilence. We would attach it to different politicians today. Yeah, movie that Mike does creator of Beavis and Butthead. Seriously funny commentary on the state of the world. Okay. that down. I couldn't stand Beavis and Butthead though. They got on my nerves. I got kicked out of church when I asked about Revelations 2:9, 3:9, 16:11 KVJ. The preacher and some deacons asked me to leave. Was I wrong to ask? No, and that's the thing. You're never wrong to ask. If they can't stand, if your thought process or religion can't stand under the scrutiny of someone questioning it, and all you can do is get emotional and angry and ostracize the person, then you should really question the validity of your religion. Is it wrong for me to take the Bible literally? But okay, let me put it like this: some parts of the Bible are being metaphoric. Most of it, though, it's literal. They're being literal. Like the overwhelming majority of the Old Testament is being literal. They meant it literally. The majority of the New Testament is meant literally. Like they are trying to account for things that happen. Revelations is a very allegorical, but literal at the same time. They literally expect for the Euphrates, for 4 angels to descend on the banks of the Euphrates and then kill a third of the population. You know, the 7 seals, trumpets, bowls, but seals, trumpet, bowls, and scrolls. Those are literal things that's supposed to happen. Jerusalem descending, literal things. Seal, Jesus sealing his, the mark of the beast, literal things that are supposed to happen. So most of it is literal. But because it doesn't fit our modern culture, people try to see it allegorical. Now, even though Paul said in Galatians that all the things of Abraham are allegories, I don't think he meant them as they are complete allegories, but they were literal people that we're supposed to have. They were literal people who did what they did, and things happened the way they happened. But we are now supposed to look at them and learn from them as allegories. Is how I interpret that saying. I know many people who deconstruct it, they'll take that and say, see, even the Bible says that those people never existed. But those people who wrote it, but those people who believed it in first century, second century, third century, even those were people who lived. Because if Abraham is not an actual person who lived, then the bloodline that goes up with David to Jesus doesn't exist, and therefore Jesus can't be the Messiah. If he's not the Jewish Messiah, if those people are allegories, because he wouldn't be a part of the bloodline of David. And in order to have that bloodline of David, you got to have Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, on up to Obadiah, to Ruth, to own up to Boaz and Ruth, so they can have Obadiah, to have Jesse, and then David or some shit like that. So you got to have that in order for the bloodline to work, in order to have this Messiah. So Paul could not have meant them as only allegory and non-existent people. They still had to exist. Otherwise, Jesus can't be the Messiah. I think that might be a good little side video. Where's my pen? You know, write that down. Where that? Galatians 4, I think. We're gonna do that one day. The so-called Christians say that the end time is near ever since Jesus died. Every time something bad happens, here comes the Christians of our day. Exactly. How many of y'all saw my video yesterday with a guy talking about a river just appeared in the desert, and then tried to quote Isaiah about earth springs and water is just appearing. What kills me is that not only did I live in that area during the rainy season and see the flash flooding myself, that happens every year. Pretty much every year. Sometimes the rains are not heavy enough at the same time for it to happen, but pretty much every year they have flash flooding in that area. We was in Bahrain when it happened. And then we went over to humanitarian help those people, during that flash flood. So, and then when I was stationed in Germany, our headquarters unit, we flew over during that rainy season to participate with organizing the humanitarian during that time frame. All 3 years of rainy. No, I was there I got there. They had the first rainy season, but I didn't go. But the next 3 years of the rainy season, I went over there to help organize the humanitarian effort during that flood. So and then I spent, just to make sure I had the right time frame and that it's not just me saying it based on my experience. I took 5 minutes to look up the area and their rain levels, and it was like, okay, it's the same. It happens every year. It's not all of a sudden. But they'll take any little thing and try to make it that. The end times were, and they always want to be in the end times because that helps them to validate their book, and it gives that fear to get people to join. The end times read about in the New Testament happening in the first century. It was about the end of the old covenant temple religion, Grand Rising Chad, religious system, not the end times or the end of the planet. And I think I'm with you, except for that old covenant part, because they thought that was going to be the end of the world, period. That the Messiah was coming to overthrow the Roman government. That's what they were looking for. That's what early Christians were looking for. All right, they're always trying to find a way to correlate religious history with modern day time. Man is arrogant species, mainly because of modern religions. Yeah. Ellen G. White created 7-day Adventists based on the end time prophecy. She said that she would not die before the end times happened, that it would happen in their lifetime. And she sold that very well. And then some men picked it up and they all believed it, and they created the 7-day Adventists. And out of that, when it didn't happen before she died, they changed it. They changed it to fit a vague time frame. The same thing happened with Jehovah's Witness. Once there was 144,000 Jehovah's Witness and the end times didn't happen, they changed it to fit the growth of their religion. Okay, y'all saw that video. Good, cool. You ordered those 2 books, but when I was trying to use your link, I could get to the hard copies. I had to go straight to Amazon. Oh, 5 weeks for the hard copy. Yeah. Okay. Well, I appreciate you trying to use it. Yeah, I don't like, if I can get a hard copy of a book, I always like to get the hard copies. I don't like the soft backs. They're good, but they don't, they're not as durable. RG, Grand Rising delusions provide comfort for some people. They don't want to hear the truth. No. It's like when we talk about diving into yourself and dealing with your shadow self. People don't like dealing with the truth of themselves, so they're definitely not going to deal with the truth about the fact that they don't know what's going to happen when they die. So they rather take on the delusion of some religious idea of heaven. And they have to be right, and everybody else has to go through some type of hell. That's right. There were people, I didn't find any videos, but I just saw comments of people talking about, oh, the Canadian fire is a sign of the end time. It's blotting out the sun, because in Revelations it says the sun will be blotted out. The Millerites, the great disappointment. Was that the 7-day? Wasn't that's 7-day Adventist, right? Because wasn't one of the guys who reorganized 7-day Adventists after that was some dude named Miller? Millerites. Or maybe, yeah. Were the followers of the teachings of William Miller, who at the end of that first shared publicly his belief in the second advent of Jesus would occur. Oh, those are Jehovah's Witnesses in the 1930s. They changed their name to that. Right. So he came out of 7-day Adventists and created the Jehovah, and that became the Jehovah's Witness in the 1930s. Oh no, wait. Changed the name to it became the second successful group to emerge from the original Millerites. So 2 groups emerged from the Millerites. Ain't that some shit? So 7-day Adventists and the Jehovah's Witness came out of these Millerite people. I'd be damned. See, these religions, they just be making some shit up. They just make some shit up. I'm doing a quick read on the Millerites, but I remember William Miller. So, and they always come out of some other group, which all go back to like how Protestantism started, even though he wasn't trying to start a new religion. And it's funny, it's called the Great Disappointment. Jesus was supposed to return by 1844. So those events of the Great Disappointment paved the way for the Adventists, who formed the 7-day Adventist Church. They contend that what had happened on October 26th was not Jesus' return as Miller had thought, but the start of Jesus' final work of atonement, the cleansing of the heavenly sanctuary leading to the second coming. Mm-hmm. Yep. So when they wrong, they just can't say, look, that shit was wrong. We followed a false teaching. Like the Bible tells you that if a person prophesies something and then it doesn't happen, then you're supposed to consider that person a false prophet. You're not supposed to then just change up what they say. Ooh, that's a Boy, y'all be giving me some good videos to make. I appreciate y'all. Because basically, so Seventh-day Adventists and Jehovah's Witnesses are religions that are still they are purposely following a false prophet, according to the very Bible that they read. Gotcha. Appreciate that, Paul. I'm giving you credit to him. Like, this video is inspired by Paul Martin. All right, your name on that. Yep. Matter of fact, you inspired both of them. Like, these videos. You don't get your credit, bro. That's your IMBD. Get your credit. Oh, those fires happen close to you? Ooh. Yep, I saw some of the videos of people saying that those fires were started by, what was it, harp or there are some characters trying to block out the sun, like you know who, without calling the name of those philanthropists. You know, the hard thing about what we call conspiracy theory is that some of them wind up being true. That's the hard part about those, figuring out which ones are true. Are you in Laharian? Okay. Are you in Laharian? Can't get a hold of anyone there. Media has gone silent. What? I don't even know where that's at. Never heard of it. Oh, you were talking to Ron. I'm guessing you're talking to Ron about that. That was the Hawaii. I think Ron, you was talking about the Canadian wildfires. Then you have so you and Hansen is talking about the Hawaii fires. They change the rules in the middle of the game. Often they have to. When you've built up that following, you got to make up a reason to justify you maintaining that following. Yep. Yeah, a prophet is like, if I get back into my political studies like I used to be back in the early 2000s, I was also into economics, I could prophesy some shit and make it sound like I'm the man. Do I think we're going to keep evolving in this structure, or do I think it should be a whole new world restart? No higher power, people just like to keep talking against ourselves. Grand Rising, Mr. Warrior. Warriors, come out and play. Looking at the projecting how man is going to evolve. Um, I think that at some point that we will continue to evolve technologically. And this round of men, we won't evolve in balance with nature. We'll evolve with technology. But at some point, either the earth or man will create a what's the word I'm looking for? A extinction level event. And I think after that extinction level event, we'll go away from technology and go back to more of a. I think the pre-Younger Dryas civilizations were more in balance with nature. They had their technology was balanced with nature. When we look at the Great Pyramids, Stonehenge, the Sphinx, those things were built with more earth-based technology, meaning utilizing and understanding earth energy, earth construction. But we're away from that. We've moved away from that. That's why none of our structures will ever last as long as those structures that we still see. So this is why I think that those people, they had technologies greater than ours, but it was based on universal energies. After this group of man dissolves itself or nature kicks our ass, because it's like we're going so much against nature, the next whatever version of man survives, I think they'll evolve more into a earthen nature because of the fear of repeating the same thing. Now, individually, we can evolve into, I think we'll evolve more. You can evolve more into an energy-based being. Hold on, bro. Why you gonna charge me? That'd be 20. Is that for that? That's the symbol for the pound or the euro. Why are you trying to get a little extra? I know the dollar is it's not as valuable as the pound or the euro. Come on, Paul. Yeah, not all are true. I know I'm way behind with y'all comments. Sorry. Yeah, but I think Mother Earth. I think the Earth is gonna get its revenge. Yeah, but one day we will become extinct. I think the Earth. I was listening to rather one geologist, and they were saying that we've been. They believe we've already been through 5 extinction level events. I don't know if we can last long enough for spiritualization to truly become uh, our mode. I'm glad. Thank you. You're welcome there, Mr. Warrior. We are. I mean, we kicking the Earth's ass, and the Earth gonna fight back. It's already been fighting back. We dredging the hell out of the oceans, and I know the oceans are vast, but we screwing the ocean up more than anything else. And once you screw the ocean, everything else is done. In today's world, a false prophet is a preacher not profiting. It really is sad if you call yourself a preacher and uh, you're not making some money. You in the wrong gig. Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Look up future U.S. Navy map of world. U.S. Navy future map of the world. I have messed up map, man. That's pretty much following where a lot of the tectonic plates are and the breakup and how the world will fracture. Like this part where, like in Africa, where it's that break in the middle is already happening. That's a break of in America, the Appalachians plate breaking. We all know California gonna fall into the ocean. Ooh, that's a whole lot less land. That map was made in 1993. Mississippi River get big. That's why I wouldn't live in California. One day California's sinking, or Yosemite is going to explode. He said, pause, he just don't have the charisma. And it does take that. If you don't have the charisma to be able to do it, and it doesn't always have to look, but see, charisma doesn't always look the same. Look at Joe Osteen. Joe Osteen doesn't do the ha and the ah and get all excited. And a lot of people follow, and then there are those who do all of that. But that style is kind of getting played. You're not going to reach mass. If you look at some of the your big pastors out there, you got your old guard who still do the fire, brimstone, and the big demonstrative personality, but that calm motivational speaking style is what's winning the most. And I used to study that because at one point that was my goal. I didn't want to talk about this kind of stuff publicly. This was going to be my private conversations. So I was studying, Les Brown and Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn. I was studying their style and seeing where I can find my own style based on the foundation that those guys created. Zig Ziglar, those are my guys, and that's what I was like. That's what I wanted to do. I've always known that what I wanted to do. I can't say always known. I've known since my early days in the Marine Corps that I wanted to make a living speaking, talking, running my mouth. As I had told you guys the other day, me owning the brick and mortars that I've owned, I knew that I was doing something that wasn't near and dear to my heart. It's not something that I truly wanted. But I knew I'm a bad employee. I can't be an employee, so that wasn't my other option. And then when you have kids, you can't always do what you want to do. You got to do what you need to do. And so that charisma, I don't know you, Paul, personally, haven't talked to you, but you'll be surprised at how you can develop your own style of charisma. Mass extinction. Now, a mass extinction event is one of those things that could create a one world order. He said, hope y'all aren't coastline. And I think it would take something like that, either mass extinction or interdimensional alien invasion. James, you from Cali? Well, Cali going in the water, man. Yep. When you look like us, you do have to work twice as hard. Especially if you, but it depends on your locality too, Paul. If you're in the Southeast and you look like us, because the Southeast is, 37%, 47%, 37 or 47% of Black people live in the Southeast. But then depending upon your style, you can get some everybody. You can get some everybody. And then and your focus, you can get some everybody. And you don't have to, like, there are some mid-sized churches here in Atlanta. They live in a pretty damn good life. I'm talking they six-figure. They paying themselves in the six-figure. So it depends on where your number is. Because you can have a church roll of 5,000 people, but only having about 500 show up. So you can consistently have 500 to 1,000 people show up, and you can be six-figure, right? I've watched a dude that graduated a year after me go to prison, get out, use that prison, use his charisma just in the local area that we grew up in, gain an audience from those people, and those people brought in more people and more people, understanding how to build a movement. If you understand how to build a movement, you can develop that group. And then what he did was he took some of that money that he was getting and he invested in real estate, then he invested in a construction company, and the man is living. And then when one of his boys got out of prison, he hooked him up with the system, and they doing a pretty good job. Them two drug dealing back in the day jokers are doing. They live in a six-figure life, so it depends on what your number is. And then that's where I was about to go next with it, Brian. If you focus on Pan-Africanism through your religion, bruh, it's plenty of money out there. It's plenty of money. That's why when these jokers be failing, they be in these little ass churches and suffering and got to work 3 jobs, 2 jobs, or all that stuff. Nah, they just not doing it right. It takes a very long time for tectonic plate movements is slow. If you sat and watched for years, you couldn't notice the movement. Right, you wouldn't. You'd have to. This tectonic plate movement has to be observed over multiple lifetimes, which is one of the things I found amazing about the Aztecs, because their knowledge came over observation of the stars for lifetimes. But we have I think all those things happen when there's you can have it happen faster if there's some massive volcanic eruptions or earthquakes. Exactly, LaQueen. Hey, man, y'all be doing this to me. Y'all be changing the subject. We get 5 minutes in and y'all be changing the subject and we go down the rabbit holes. But all of, so back to what LaQueen is saying. And to merge what we're talking about, end time preaching can still be very lucrative. It still is very lucrative because people are living based on this fear. If I got on here and I start speaking of end time stuff and I start preaching based on a religion, a Bible, or any other religion that has end time prophecies, and all these prophecies are vague enough. And that's the thing. The prophecies are so vague that you can attach them to almost every major media event that happens, right? You can attach end time prophecies to the fight that's going on in Israel. It doesn't matter if these were the true Israelites. It doesn't matter that they don't have the land that God promised Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You can prophesy that it's they are in the process of acquiring it, that this was God's process. And this is why we must side with Israel, because it is God's process of fulfilling the seed of Abraham being able to acquire the gift of God. And that just as God told Moses that they would destroy, he would give them the land of the Canaanites, the Amorites, and the Hittites. Well, the Canaanites and the Amorites and Hittites, you attach them to the Palestinians and attach them to the people of Iraq. And then you can say God is progressing Israel into that inheritance. And because you know that that is going to take time, it gives you time to grow your audience, because these people will fall into the fear of it. And then because the world, if you think about it, there's enough of the world that is saying that the Israelites are wrong, the Israelis are wrong for what they are doing. This can lend into the prophecies of Jesus saying that when you are hated, you will be hated by the world. You'll be hated by government. You'll be hated for your belief. So your support of the Israelis is being demonstrated by the hatred that you're now receiving from all these other people who are saying that that the Israelis are wrong for keeping these people in this situation and turning off their water and not allowing them to have food. So you can still use these false end time prophecies to do that, because that's all they're doing. And all of them are vague enough. Every pandemic, there will be more pandemics. There will be. There's always been pandemics. Pandemics used to only happen because people were unsanitary. They lived compacted. But now pandemics can spread even easier because we are so connected to one another. Like if the COVID would have came out 200 years ago, it would have stayed pretty much stayed in China, except for ships. But just like when they had the Spanish flu and the Black Plague in Venice, I was watching this thing, and it wasn't part of what they were talking about, but they were talking about Venice. And one of the things that they talked about briefly was the fact that ships used to have to sit out in the ports of Venice for 30 days to make sure that the ships they weren't carrying the Black Plague. So if it had happened 200 years ago, COVID would have never spread like it did today. It would have just been all throughout Asia, maybe. So with the increase of contact of the world, you can prophesy and talk about the four angels that come to the side of the Euphrates, and how they will and put them in a esoteric framework. You won't be able to see them. No one will see them, but they will come. And when you see a third of the population, that means that they've come. Right? And every pandemic, you can say, is a build up to it. God is preparing us. He's giving us demonstrations of it. You don't even have to say this is it, that he's demonstrating it. He's showing it. And this is how they take those prophecies and make it seem like God he's just getting ready. The real one hasn't happened yet. If I was Christian and I was trying to build my church, I would be saying that, no, these flash floodings that happen, these are God's demonstration of what is to come, and it will happen on a greater scale when the time is right. But he's giving you a warning. He's giving you a warning. He's letting you know that it's about to happen. He's trying to give you time to repent and come to him. All that bullshit. You can swerve it, and you'll be able to swerve this your entire life. long as you don't, you got to keep yours just as vague as the Bible prophecies are, and you'll be winning the whole time. False evidence being well, evidence being he said. This is the lack of critical thinking, undeveloped critical thinking, strong tools for the Christian. True, and it is, and you can even swerve critical thinking. The critical thinking that you should have is the fact that God is working these things out to give you time. This is when you look into it with the Holy Spirit, and you have the Holy Spirit. This is why you have to accept Jesus, so that the Holy Spirit will be imbued in you like it was on the day of Pentecost, and you'll be able to see God's hand working towards the final end time battle of Armageddon. You'll be able to understand when these false flags go up, when wars are constantly going on, and we're leading into the major world war that will bring about the Antichrist. With the Holy Spirit inside you, you will see God's prophecies at hand working. That's that kind of bullshit. Now that you have to, and you gotta kind of stay away from them. The sun being blotted out, the rivers all turning to blood. Well, you can use the rivers, and see, they just use it. The river turned red. You got to stay away from it turning into blood. Because they have to turn to blood, and it has to be all the rivers, because it says all the rivers, all the oceans, all turn to blood. But you can say that the way God is using man to dredge the ocean and mess up the ecosystem of the ocean, so that all the animals start to die. And when the animals in the oceans begin to die, the ocean will be as blood, because there will be no life in it, because ocean animals can't swim and live in blood. And when the oceans have been destroyed by man, and the animals die, the rivers may not look like blood, but they will be as blood. Make it metaphorical. They will be as blood, because nothing will be alive within it. And so the blood of the animals is the death of the oceans. And then we won't be able to live, because without the plankton, then the oxygen on Earth will be depleted and gone, and we will fight for oxygen, fight for the natural thing that God gave us in life, and we will fight. And without a mark, without a sign, you won't be able to buy and trade and gain oxygen. Well, there was a movie that I saw recently where the Earth was so jacked up that the oxygen level had depleted because we had destroyed all the forests, and they had a time machine, and dude went into the future, and the man had died off. And so they sent him in the future, and he was to restart human civilization. And they knew that was the point. Gosh, it was some off movie. I don't even remember the name of it. Me and Angelina can be sitting here, and we just see a trailer and then just watch some Amazon original or Prime original movie or somebody else original movie. And I don't know if it was one of those, but it was some movie that was like that. And if it's a time travel movie, even if it could be cheesy, but I'll probably watch it. But you can talk about that, and these prophecies are so vague that you can make them fit whatever is happening on the earth, or extrapolate things that could possibly happen, based on some of the scientific theories, right? And most people won't understand it from an ocean perspective, so that's why you use it from a deforestation. We're killing all the trees and all these sorts of things, and you can't talk about too many animals on the planet, and that's really that's more damaging than the trees that's more damaging than deforestation, because most of your parishioners are going to keep eating meat. You don't want to go that route. So you'd be glad you'd be gone. Hunter-gatherer 2.0. I know that there's a lot of dystopian movies being made. It's almost like they want to destroy the earth just to prove the idiotic point. That plus is people like that. People like dystopian movies. because it makes you emotionally, it makes people feel better about the time frame that they're living in. Because most people don't want to live in a dystopian earth. So it makes you feel better about the life that you're living. Whatever your grievance is with mankind right now, whether it's deforestation, the seas, too much meat, too much air, cars, CO2, whatever it is, any of those things. Like most people don't even realize CO2 emissions are not as harmful to the earth as some of these other things. We're at like 0.04. So CO2 emissions is not as big a deal as some of the other things. It's not great, but it's not as big a deal. But you can point to places like LA. Oh, look at what all the CO2 is created in LA and all the pollution around these major cities. And most people live in major cities. So you can point to that and get people all jazzed up for it. Yeah, I saw that 90% of all life on Earth has already gone extinct. Mm-hmm. That just shows you how much abundance the Earth had. That with the abundance we have now, but with so much is already gone. Right, trees do need CO2 to breathe, but the CO2 emission from vehicles and factories is not like it's like kind of like water. You can drink. We watched Walk the Line last night. You can drink that yellow water at Folsom Prison. It's water. You ain't gonna die, but it ain't the best water. So the CO2 emissions from cars, the trees can absorb it, but it's not the best CO2. The best CO2 comes from animals. And so the plant life would be better off if the CO2 that it received was from animals who were eating those trees and grass and other animals, and then it'd just be a more pure. But it's like they're getting 10 karat gold from the cars instead of that 24 karat gold. Oh, their natural gas is worse than CO2. But realize the majority of the oxygen produced on the planet comes from plankton, not trees. So killing the ocean is worse. That when you come back, humans gonna be eating humans, and religion. No, that'd be part of the religion. The religion would be that you eat the people. You absorb their spirit, their knowledge. You gain their essence. That would be the religion. Somebody will convert any and all times into a religion. What was my man on the book of Eli? He wanted to get the Bible because he knew the power of religion, even in that dystopian time frame. You're gonna get it. You're gonna get it. But this is how that book. This is why when they talk about end time, and the title of this video is that the end time will never come. Because even in a dystopian society, those still will not be counted as the end time. Either new religions will come out. It'll probably be some religion of a second chance. That whole Battle of Armageddon, Jesus descending, being on the planet, 1,000-year reign of peace and all that stuff, and then the final battle of Megiddo happens, and then the earth is done, and if you're Jehovah's Witness, it'll be a new earth. But the main Christianity says you're going to go and live in heaven with God and see him on his throne, and he providing the light and 12 trees producing fruit annually. I don't understand how there's an annual production of trees, because theoretically in heaven there's not supposed to be time. So Uh, that style religion won't be. It'll be a whole change in it. That have you ever seen the movie The Seventh Seal, where the end times were happening, but because this one woman was Demi Moore was willing to give up her life for her baby, she was willing to die for him. She provided the sacrifice for the gulf of souls to be refilled. It'll be some religion like that. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's a story of a woman who does something like somebody would take that movie, right? That would have been destroyed, but they would have known that movie or that concept and they would tell a new version of Christianity. Are you familiar with Donner Party? I don't know who that is. So it's all metaphorical. It's not supposed to be metaphorical. It was supposed to be literal. T-slaw crate, fried baby gonna be sold like caviar. We do like the tender meats. Yeah, Gary Oldman's character in the book of Eli, he wanted to acquire the Bible to acquire the power with people. Yeah, exactly. Yep, finally got it, but it was written in Braille. Yeah, we love those movies. It makes us feel or think that we're better, and we're going to avoid that. People want to avoid pain if they can, and a dystopian world would be a painful existence compared to our current world. You know, there are some people who would love to live in Mad Max, free of rules, free of credit, having to deal with credit, lawlessness to a certain degree, back to tribalisms. Some people would love that. Mhm. I'm familiar with the Donner Party now. So they got stuck trying to go out west, and then they wound up eating each other and eating people, killing two people purposely, eating their fallen dead comrades. No, I never heard of this before. It's kind of like that movie Alive, when the soccer team got stranded on top of that mountain. And they wanted to go to the west and live a truly free Catholic lifestyle. Okay. See, I learned something new from y'all every time. Grand Rising Skybox, how you doing? You just want a robot to work for you. Oh, a couple of your comments didn't go through. Okay, I don't know why. Yeah, this show just ain't for me. I mean, for y'all, it's for me too. I learned some stuff. Y'all gonna hit me on a video like 6 months from now, like, yeah, it's just like the Donner Party, which there was a wagon train, a group of wagon trainers went out to California because they wanted to live a true Catholic life, much like the Puritans and the Pilgrims wanted to leave England and live their life. This is a sign, this is a symbolism of how history consistently repeats itself. How people go out and want to live a life of purity that they believe is pure based on their religious beliefs. But what happened? They got out there and they quickly found themselves in a natural catastrophe, this situation of being snowed in, and then had to resort to cannibalism, which goes totally against their religion. And in their racist personality, actually killed two Native American guys on purpose in order to eat them. Um, as we see the similarities of not necessarily cannibalism, but having to depend on the Native Americans of the Pilgrims and the Puritans in order to survive that winter. So winter is a sign of death. But humans will always try to separate themselves based on their religious content, but often find that they have to uh, go against their own religious concepts in order for survival, which shows that survival of your current life is more important than the heaven to which they desire to receive. It's a good thing I'm not a politician or a preacher. It's a good thing. Uh, it would not be good for me to be a politician or a preacher. Mm-mm. Yeah, I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna have to leave that alone. I normally don't smoke two of them when I'm on the show, but for some reason today I want two cigars right now. Sorry. Sometimes these cigars that are in these tubes, they get stuck. So excuse this noise that I'm about to make. Oh shit. I hit it too hard. And what's worse about that is that I have absolutely no shoes on. And I just broke glass. Mm, mm, mm. It is all around my face. Yeah, the glass tube that this cigar was in, I hit it too hard. Let's see. Sign from the I knew it. That's a sign that God that you ain't supposed to be smoking two cigars. You smoking them cancer sticks, even though this is all natural. I don't mind about having different beliefs. What gets me is what hurts me and my nerve is when people won't want to impose their beliefs on me. Yeah. That's the part that bothers me too. Like, you can have your beliefs, I don't care, but don't try to force your beliefs on me. Right, they were caught in the winter. I did see that on a quick little look on it. And they did say they killed two people. They say that they killed two people on purpose. They killed the two Native Americans. I hate y'all, but I'm gonna eat y'all. Yeah, everybody has the right to be an individual. You can live however you want to live. And you're back talking about the big lie. Yep. Now I didn't break the table. The cigar I'm smoking comes in a glass tube, but sometimes um, because this one was um, this is a Gurkha Reserva with Louis 13th. Sometimes the sweetness from the liquor will cause it to get stuck in the glass if it was too wet when they put it in. So I broke the glass by accident. So, like Paul said, that was a sign from the imaginary God. Shouldn't be smoking them things. Where was the Holy Spirit? Right. Where was the Holy Spirit when they was up there starving? It was a test. The Holy Spirit was testing them to see if they would give in or would just allow God to work in their favor. I agree. The end times will never happen after all. After all, what kind of creator would wipe out everything he has made just because something stupid, some stupid humans? Right, throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I think Angelina did that one on Really Did You Know of where that idea for throwing out what it means by throwing the baby out with the bathwater, where it came from. It's kind of nasty. It's a nasty ass story. right? And they do call people evil if they don't share the same story that they share. And of course, there must always be jokes, LaQuinn. Always be jokes. It said, now the devil, according to a Christian, the devil will want me to smoke these so that I can end my life sooner. But this creator, he said that he ended life with the flood, and he said he wouldn't end it with the flood with water again, but would do it. And so now with Revelation, he's doing it with fire and brimstone and all these other diseases and things. Grand Rising Raquel. So, and this is the way I actually enjoy lighting my cigars. Isn't the book of Revelation the most contested book? Yeah, it was. Even though Athanasius was adding, the book of Revelation was a book that Athanasius, for 25 years after the Council of Nicaea, his recommendation of the canon included the book of Revelation, but it was hotly debated. It wasn't until finally at the Council of Laodicea in around 10 something or 9 something that it was finalized that the book of Revelations would be a part of the canon. But they really didn't want it, and especially the Laodiceans didn't want the book of Revelation because of the way it talks about the church of Laodicea, right? So it almost didn't make it because they thought that it would scare people away from being Christian, right? Never put it directly in the flame, like at the top end away from it. And then I save the rest of my stick. But yeah, the book of Revelation was hard for people to accept in the early first 1,000 years of Christianity. Well, first few centuries it didn't exist, but when the first century it didn't exist. I think the book of Revelations was written in the 2nd century. When was the book of Revelation written? They dated to around 95 to 96 CE during the time frame of Domitian, which would make sense for them to write it during that time frame since there was Christian persecution going on during the time frame of Domitian. But it was still that beast. The number of the beast was still correlated to Nero, because there ain't no way they were too afraid to correlate it with Domitian at that time. Could you imagine if they had done that? A personal insult to the Emperor of Rome? Huh. And it's attributed to John of Patmos. In my belief system, Norse Germanic paganism, humans are the same level as all animal, plants, and trees. We all are alive and have souls. Yeah, the Norse tradition, the Wiccans, they believe that. And I do. Now, Mark, I know if you die in battle, then you go to Valhalla, right? But if you don't die in battle, where do you go? What happens? Do you automatically go to the realm with, what's that chick name? You know, the woman who runs down the world, Loki's daughter. What's her name? What, they had her in the Thor Ragnarok movie. You know, until they find out how powerful the fear is, wanting people to believe in that this was the way, and why they try to get you to snatch you up as a child so that the impressions can be placed. Yeah, you got to get them when they're small. If you get people when they're young, it's easier to control them. And then once they went to the Council of Nicaea and they made the Roman Emperor the head of the Christian church, it was easier for Theodosius in 381 to make all of Rome Christian. And that actually paved the way for the book of Revelation, because now Theodosius also realized that you don't have to you can control the Roman Empire without a standing army, which a standing army was way more expensive than having clergy. Is that the Santa Paulo stick? No, this is a Gurkha Reserva with the Louis XIII in it. It just, when I broke the glass, which you're not supposed to break the glass, of course, the band came off. I light my torch. I light my joints with a torch. Again, I am rock. Mm-hmm. Hella, thank you. Yeah, so Mark, oh, wait a minute. Let me see if he answered. So Mark, if you don't die in battle, do you go and you're with Hela? Or is there a mid-level place that you can go to if you was like a good Norseman? Yeah, Enoch was, and matter of fact, Enoch was declared as heresy. I think during that same council of Laodicea is when Enoch was declared as heresy. But it was a very popular book that Christians read. And then after that, but Enoch created a bunch of problems with uprisings and people not necessarily following the church itself. All the references to war in heaven and the fallen angel, and Satan, the fallen angel that's ruling, comes from those references that you do see in the Bible, comes from that book of Enoch, as well as some of your descriptions of what an angel looks like. Sekhmet is for the Egyptians, the Nubio-Kemetic. If you don't go to heaven, your heart is devoured by Sekhmet and you just go into oblivion. Coach, see the writing? What writing? The underworld government by Hela is similar to the Hebrew Sheol in the idea that it is eternal resting place of the dead, I think. Yeah, it's an eternal resting place of the dead, but I don't think you're tormented in the Norse religion. And if you go to Hela, you just don't get to go to I said it earlier and it just fell out my head. You just don't get to go to Valhalla and tell your stories of battle and celebrate and drink mead and all that other good stuff. Yes, sorry, you're all right. It's devoured by Amnet, not Sekhmet. Thank you. Yeah, in the Viking mythology, Valhalla, that's endless beer and revelry, telling stories of your greatness in battle. And it's always interesting. What I like how the Norse and the what's the other jokers? The Islamic. There's always this sex. There's a place for the warrior, and they're gonna have all the women. They're gonna have all the women. No torment, just beer and celebration. Right, that's Valhalla. But I was wondering in hell, there's with hella, there's just rest. Kind of like my man said about Sheol, where you just kind of cease to exist. And I still believe, and I still find it heresy. It baffles me is that people believe in something that has copyright laws and humans on copyright laws, just straight up craziness. Oh, are there copyright? People got copyrights on the Bible? Have you read Beowulf and Grendel? Man, oh gosh, I hate to say it this way. Yes, 30 plus years, like 35, 34, 35 years ago in high school. Damn, that's a whole life of some people. There are people not even that old. I don't remember it though. I don't remember Beowulf and Grendel. I don't remember the story. I remember the names, but I can't remember the actual story. On the paper that you use to light your star. On the wood? I mean, there's the company, they impress their emblem on it. They even have rivers of wine in the afterlife. In Islam, to go with their 72 version, I wonder if it's non-alcoholic wine. And did you know that? So I remember talking to one person when I was, well, not one person, actually, I was talking to a couple of imams in when I was in Mecca. And I asked the question, I said, so now you have female jihadists. What happens to the female jihadist? Why would she want 72 version? Oh, if a female jihadist, she will be transformed into a male. I was like, what the fuck? Still patriarchal as hell. A lot of people equate natural disasters to end time prophecy because they take away accountability for messing with the planet. RG, you're right. And they need to validate their story. If you're gonna have people follow it, you gotta validate that story. You believe that we're all going back into the light, with the exception to Valhalla. Remember, to enter Valhalla, you must be killed in battle and have been killed. Valhalla is a form of hell. Shit, Valhalla, man, Richard. I don't know, bro. You gonna send me to a place where all we gonna do is drink and be merry and have revelry and getting it in with big buxom women and all this stuff. And for a man, Valhalla sounds great. And for a woman who is aware of her sensuality, Valhalla sounds great. I never looked at a Bible to see copyrights. I guess there are. Yeah, this was I don't know if it was just those imams when I was in Mecca who told me that, but that's what I was told by a few imams. I remember the tale of Beowulf. Warrior beats hag monster, becomes king, seduces a dragon, gifts killed by his children, and said with said dragon. Oh shit, you're gonna make me have to go reread Beowulf and Grendel again. Like Groundhog Day forever and ever. That's one of the things about heaven that I've always found like insane. It's the same day over and over again. The Christian heaven is you're worshiping with God every day, every day, every day. And maybe you get a break to go eat some fruit from some trees, but the rest of the time you just worship against God. That would be insanely boring. The people who own copyrights to the Bible also own copyrights to porn. Hey man, you gotta have some fun with it. Yeah, I think the soul is different from the body. The body is just a meat suit for you to exist. It's the projection of matter, dense matter, so you can live on this planet, in this matter world. So the copyright is by the publishers of each individual when they publish a Bible, not the church or the author. Right, gotcha. I'm with you, Papa Soul. Valhalla sounds fun. Or there's a movie Beowulf. Okay. I've never seen a movie for Enoch. I know there's a movie with Nicolas Cage that demonstrates Enoch and he demonstrates the Enochian literature. Um, he's trying to save his kid, and the kid goes off, and they start a whole new planet. These aliens come down, and they got the wheel within the wheel flying around them. I've never read Urantia. Uh-uh. But listen, there's another book called Grendel, written by someone by the last name Gardner. Okay. Grendel was an introduction to a much larger epic. Have to go back to the old school. Man, Nathan, my dad was Muslim and my mom was Jew. Wow, that's an interesting combination. That's why it was so. Yeah, tell them about that. See, because that's and now depending on where you're from, different Islamic teachings are different. Just like in Christianity. Where does that spirit go? Because the spirit and the soul are different. Okay, so if I got down into it, I view the spirit and the soul as two different things as well, but somewhat one and the same. The soul is the noun, and the spirit is the verb. The spirit is the vibration of the soul, and that's how I see it. The spirit is the vibration of the soul. When the soul does something or desires to move along, it does so through the vibration of the spirit. So same but different. But all of it is the consciousness, and then how you vibrate in your consciousness. The Knowing. Thank you, Raquel. That's the name of that movie, The Knowing. Which is, I actually like that movie. I like that movie. She had a little prophecies, and the prophecies came true, and all that stuff. And yeah, that's a movie that I've seen that movie probably about 3-4 times. But as far as the soul and the spirit, they're the same. It just, when the soul is in action, it is the spirit of the soul. It is just action. Ooh, glass all on my laptop. Ooh. It's a good thing Angelina's not here. She'd be talking about me breaking glass. Oh, it's all over there. Did time just go back? I have no idea. You mean like Eastern daylight savings? I think we were passing a bill to get rid of that. But yeah, mind over matter. Has anyone had any success in understanding any of the Emerald Tablet's directions? Can I walk across it? I'm gonna have to go like gently that way towards the window. Yeah, because you know I don't have any shoes on. Yeah. I like the wisdom because I'm going to use that on my own. Yeah. The soul is the noun, the spirit is the verb. I'm not sure, but just whenever it happens, it just happens. For me, for daylight savings, I don't really pay attention to it. I think it's stupid, and I'll be glad. I think that if there was a Senate bill to get rid of daylight savings time. Some states don't even do it. But little pieces. That's the hard part. Little shreds. Damn, there was something I was gonna say based on something that was said. Now threw me off. Yeah, they're supposed to be doing away with it. Oh, Emerald Tablets directions. So there's now as far as the Emerald Tablets and using the Hermetic laws, yes, I've had much success with using the Hermetic laws, or even understanding when things don't go the way that I desire for them to go, how I misused or somebody else's causation was stronger than my causation. So I've recognized it in that. So as far as using the Hermetic laws, definitely a yes. Now, have I ever done some of the spells, basically, or incantations based on the Emerald Tablets? I've tried them. I've only had one that I would have to say was helpful in my success of elevating my consciousness. There is, I don't know, it doesn't have a title, I don't think, but there's a incantation to invoke wisdom. Now, I can just as easily say that yes, I did that incantation, but was it really the incantation, or was it that because I accepted it and I participated in it, my mind and my actions, my thoughts were geared towards gaining more wisdom? So the incantation just put my mind in a state of being ready to absorb more knowledge and more, but not just absorb the knowledge, but understand it so it can be implemented as wisdom. Because after doing that incantation, I became much better at utilizing the Hermetic laws. And it's the incantation of the 9 lords. It's not titled that, but that's what you're doing. You draw this circle, and you stand in a circle, and there's a incantation concerning the 9 lords and with gaining wisdom. Right. There's a certain amount of weight after your body loses your bowels. You have a big bowel movement after you die. There's then this other weight loss that happens that they don't know what that weight loss is. And some people say that weight loss is your consciousness leaving, your soul leaving. Yeah, I agree. But they supposedly did it that way because of the tilting of the earth, the tilting of on its axis of the earth. That's really the only reason why we have. Well, and agriculture, because for planting and harvesting your your seeds, your food, your agriculture is one of the reasons why we have the daylight savings time. And then they start saying, oh well, children going to school in the dark and all this shit. Zondervan is a company that have rights to the Bible. I don't see how you can have rights to the Bible. So that would mean that if you had rights to the Bible, then anytime somebody produces or publishes one, they have to pay them money. I've never heard that before. Grand Rising Wade. Why would consciousness even have weight? Because everything is energy, and energy has mass. So that would be the only reason why it would have weight, because energy, all energy has some level of mass to it. There is, no matter what, even within the law of correspondence, which is the as above, so below, so above, deeper within it is the different levels of consciousness or existence. And even as an energetic form, there is still matter. You can never escape matter. There's, as far as our knowledge, there's no way of escaping matter. There's the denser gross matter that we live in, of this cigar, my body, that sort of thing. But thoughts is still, although energy is still matter, a level of matter. So all levels of matter are still going to have some type of weight to it. It's really just to the degree that we can measure it. Air has weight. They used to believe that space is empty, but space is not empty. There's matter. Because if you were to, if a ship was in space going light speed, it still would have high levels of friction because of the matter. Is that an eagle chirping in the background? So I do live in Atlanta. We have a lot of hawks. And I know there was a hawk living around in my neighborhood for this past spring. I don't know if he's still here, but I don't know what the hell that bird is. These microphones, y'all be hearing, I sit here and think, oh, y'all, they can't hear this, or they can't hear that. But y'all be hearing all these little birds and stuff. But yeah, I'm a comic book guy. So even when they talk about the Flash, right? Think about a character like the Flash. Yes, he's creating friction on his feet touching the ground, but he wears the suit to kind of take away from the friction of just passing through air. So even the air has matter, has weight. In order for that to happen, that friction to happen, the air must have matter to it, must have weight to it. Your thoughts may be thinner, maybe less weight, but it's still going to have weight. So your consciousness will still have weight because it's energy. Hey man, don't start talking about my hawks. We're going to be at least a 6 seed this year. All right. We're going to be at least at minimum the 6 seed. We're going to surprise y'all. We're surprising y'all this year. We're going to surprise this Eastern Conference. We're going to be better than Miami. We're going to be better than New York. Watch. We're going to be better than Cleveland. Hell, we're going to be better than Philly. Philly going to fall apart. Young is not a liability. Get off my team, T-Slaw. I'm going to have to fight you because I will be buying some tickets. A few tickets probably next week for a few of the games. I gotta see when they come, when Mignogna comes in play. I'm definitely gonna go to that game, and I gotta get those tickets now while the tickets are cheap. Because I think as the season goes on, those tickets are gonna go up in San Antonio. You can get some good seats for $56 right now when they play them, but those tickets are gonna go up. Look here, Wade. Now, we ain't gonna get into this NBA chatter. I thought about creating an NBA channel, but we ain't gonna get into this NBA chatter right now. But I'm telling y'all, y'all come back to this video. Hawks gonna be at least a 6 seed. I don't even see 6 teams better than the Hawks in the East. I'm talking about we still got Murray. We didn't get rid of Murray. We signed him to a 4 or 5 year contract. No, backcourt is still Trey and Murray. Look, I know we talk about anything, but I was thinking about a sports channel. I was thinking about one, but let's keep it where we at. Let's keep it where we at. Keep it where we at. Gonna have people like, hey, I thought this was about Revelation. They talking about Atlanta Hawks. See how y'all can go. See how this shit happened. You hear a bird outside, which I know we had a hawk living here. They start talking about basketball. I'm sure there's some Christians who will say that the devil's page. Basketball is from the devil. You know, these people are the patent has no restraints. Coca-Cola owns Santa Claus. Man, Coca-Cola don't own Santa Claus. Come on now. Now you can hold a patent on certain images, but all they have to do is make a 10% variation of that image, and you can create a new patent for that image or trademark. RG. Okay. Y'all about to. So I'm about to block Wade. I'm about to block T-Slaw. I'm about to block RG. Y'all ain't gonna be able to come on here talking about my damn Hawks like that. Talking about my Hawks. Can I talk about Liverpool FC? No. Paul. I went to 2 soccer matches. I'm gonna go to a soccer match with the Atlanta, whatever that team is. I forgot the name of the damn team, but I'm gonna go. European soccer matches are dangerous. They're dangerous. Those people are fanatical. I watched the Italian referee get stabbed. Well, I didn't watch him, but he got stabbed later on after they chased him out of the. Now these are Christians in Rome. Christians. The guy made a call. They didn't like it. They jumped the field. He ran out the field. They found him like a couple hours later, and he had been stabbed. These Christians, fanatical about this dang soccer. Santa's misspelled a fat man in a blood red suit. Santa Claus is an animal scary mushroom. I like that one. I'm sure you've heard that one before. I came late. Were you talking about the weight of the soul? Yeah, that was a little conversation that happened about the weight of the soul. Yeah, Roman Christians do get down like that. It's called football, by the way. Yeah, when I'm in Europe, it's called football. When I'm in America, it's called soccer. But yeah, but yes, Roman Christians do get down like that. All that Christianity goes out the window. I was at it was England playing Ireland, and the Irish fans were sitting below the English fans, and they would start throwing bottles and all kind of stuff down at the Irish fans. And it's kids and people down there, and they throwing shit down at those people. And I was like, man, we leaving. The guy, one of my Marines that I was there with, I was like, well, I'm out. These people crazy. Well, as above, so below is a reference to the void that projects forth reality, i.e., our material plane, right? Which is still pure light, energy, and frequency. Yep. And upon our death, when our mind and consciousness retreats within itself, technically we have escaped said matter plane, as the imprint we leave is all that remains. Yes, that is part of as above, so below. But because we cannot escape the mind of the all, because it sounds like you read Kabbalion, but and understood it. Because we cannot leave the mind of the all, cannot ever be outside the mind of the all. Even in the higher planes, there is still a form of matter, just at a less gross level. And not gross like gross, but gross meaning compacted. Yeah, the atmosphere mushroom connection to Santa Claus and people utilizing that to have visions and dreams and all that kind of stuff uh, is an interesting connection. Now, there was a character, a person who was, I think it was a monk or somebody who was secretly giving gifts to people in a small ass town, and that story grew. But the same fever is absolutely religious. Yes, it is. It is. And those are two contradictory um, loyalties, beliefs. I'm so religious about my team that I'm willing to hurt people. But I'm also so religious about my religion that tells me not to hurt people, but I'm hurting people. I got caught up in the fever of the game. Uh, these let a team win a Super Bowl and they flipping and turning cars and all that kind of stuff. And all these people will later claim to go to believe in some religion that tells them that this type of public destruction is a sin. But the fever and for their team, them damn Philadelphia fans, they'll throw batteries or they throwing batteries at Santa Claus or something like that. And they can get very violent, but yet they'll be in church on that Sunday praising a deity that tells them that they should have never done what they did. People are people just vibrate so low in their consciousness that they will have this irrational faith towards things, right? Yeah, Raider fans are just as bad. I mean, the fans, period. The fanatical, I mean, the word fans come from fanaticism. You want to bet some money like you want to kick an NBA player's ass. Yeah, win or lose, they tearing stuff up. Exactly, Wade. And that's the same thing with these religious people. I'm bringing this back to religion, goddamn. The same thing with these religious people is to grow in consciousness. And you got different ways. Like, do I get emotional about the Hawks or the Falcons when they're playing? Yes. But there is always the thought in my mind that this is just a game. This game is not, unless you T-Slaw without betting money, this game is not paying me. They have nothing to do with me maintaining my lifestyle. Those players don't know me. It's a business. So I bring it back to where it's just entertainment. That's it. It's just entertainment. No more so than a movie. The only difference is you can you can read the script of a movie. And depending upon who you're talking to, there's a script for sports. But I don't go for that 100%. I think some of these games are rigged, but it's just entertainment. And religion to me is entertainment. Have you ever studied? Nope. What was that? Lollify? for Africa, and what he says about people with no melanin, and how they react to social outlets with alcohol. No, the only people with, and that would be interesting because the only people with no melanin would be albinos. Caucasians have melanin, just very low amounts of melanin. So tough being a Raiders fan. Mm-hmm. Oh, you're a Flyers fan. I'm so disappointed in Philly. Been all around Philly, and I was been to all the spots, even the ones in the hood. Not impressed by y'all sandwich. It was good, but it wasn't like this. Oh my God. Too much money to be floating, not to be rigged. That's for religion and sports. Yeah. I think there's some rigging that goes on in sports. They want certain teams to win. It's kind of like when the Saints finally got to play back in Louisiana after now I think it was also rigged that the Saints won that Super Bowl, but also the mental mind share of America was so caught up into the Saints coming back after Katrina that they had the emotions of the United States, at least, for them to have some type of reward for the devastation they went through. After 9/11, I knew the Patriots were going to win the Super Bowl. They had to. Patriotism, you know. So there are instances where I would say this shit is rigged. It's one-upmanship in sports and religion. Yeah. I can see that. Oh, you meant low melanin? Okay. But no, I've never heard of that person. But see, this I've never heard of the person, don't know what he wrote, don't know what he actually said, just based on what RG is saying and how they react to social outlets with alcohol. You know, this is the danger of any and all types of religions because whoever is supposed to be the authority can take things that happen in society and connect it to some type of religious zealot belief system. Oh, I do think like those y'all keep going back and forth, sports religion, sports religion. Those teams in certain cities have to stay relevant. You know, New York, Chicago, LA, Miami, your big media markets where the majority of money is made have to stay relevant. Because there are Braves fans all over the country because of Ted Turner and see y'all youngins don't understand this, but before there was cable, the Turner broadcasting system, they used to show Braves games all over the country. So there are Braves fans everywhere. So they major market, they got to keep them relevant. It's money. Cheesecake and hoagies are the best. What up? What up? Didn't they mention the capture or kill of those? But they won the Super Bowl before, right after Katrina. That was before the Osama thing, and then they won another one. That one might have been because they won what, like 6. Alcohol affects all melanin levels. I don't know, man. Like, I'm not a drinker, but I can drink 5 pours of bourbon or whiskey and not get drunk. I get a buzz that may last for like 30 minutes and then it's gone. Which financially, I'm like, if I can't drink it out of appreciation, there's no reason for me to drink it. Just like with pretty much anything else, I have a high tolerance level. I don't know if that has anything to do with my melanin because I know people with more melanin than me and their tolerance level is crap. You get one drink and they one or two drinks and they've done it. All right, then split off to their own denomination like the Pentecostals did back in the 1908 or something. Yeah, and that's what you do with your religion. That's, you know, you break it off. When you get your distinction, you create something new. Oh yes, Rick. Yeah, a lot of the big teams won. They lost. I was let. You know, the Philadelphia Bulldogs, they lost. I like them, but I don't. They got my Georgia Bulldog players on them, but they in my division. So as far as the NFC, so I don't like them, and I just don't like Philly. I don't like the city. I just don't like Philly. I've never been to Philly and actually enjoyed myself. Never been there and enjoyed myself. But the Philadelphia Bulldogs, I give them a little bit of credit because they outdrafted everybody to me. But stop. After slavery was abolished in the UK, the investors took that money and formed Liverpool. It was a slave port city. Now I knew it was a slave port city, but I didn't realize that they took the money and formed Liverpool. Like they created the city of Liverpool? Or are you talking about the sports team? Well, no, it couldn't have been a sports team. That's too early. Or is it too early? I don't know. I don't know much about European football. You got a high tolerance as well, yeah. Uh, oh no, it's like that for Philly. Yeah, it's like that. I'm sorry, I've been to Philly like 3 times and never enjoyed myself. Disappointed in your food. Don't like your people got on my nerves. Oh, that's when they formed the club. Got you. No, actually, I do like Philly cheesesteak. Actually, it's the place in Atlanta that I prefer than the places that I had in Philly, and it's owned by Asians to make it even worse. But I like their Philly cheesesteak better than I like any place I went in Philly. Uh, I have to try. I have to try it again. I try. I give it a try because Angelina swear up and down. There's some good Philly places up there, so I'm sure we'll make our way to Philadelphia at some point. Yeah, they do have 2 playoffs. I think that mid season playoff they're doing it wrong. I don't like that NBA Cup bullshit. I don't like that. See, y'all gonna make me start a goddamn on sports channel. Keep on with this. But I don't like that mid-season cup. I think that they should do is take it towards the end of the year and have the worst teams play for the number 1 draft pick. Have a tournament based on that. Mid-season cup thing is stupid. Okay, yeah, but then you got the bastard that deliberately trying to bring the. Can we get back to religion, y'all? Abusing the religious tax exemption. If no one can see through the projection of the attempted trigger that they call the check the show weapon. Yeah, but you can rip that stuff off, and the tax benefits are amazing. Yeah, I'm lactose intolerant, but I've trained my body to be able to handle it better because I like ice cream. Oh my gosh. What do y'all need a sports channel? Do we need to create a sports channel? Oh, whenever we travel, I try to let everybody know. That way, if you're in a place where we go, then if you guys want to meet up or anything like that, we can. So, I mean, like every time we go to Wilmington, I let you guys know we go there. But now that I'm free from a brick and mortar, we will be doing a lot more traveling. So I will definitely let you guys know when we go anywhere. Well, most of the time. There's some travel. I don't want to see none of y'all. We going somewhere just for the two of us to enjoy ourselves in privacy and like step away from everything. I ain't telling y'all nothing. But for the most part, yeah. You said the non-commodity manuscripts were made up or manufactured. What did you mean by that? I mean, people did write them and make them up, but I don't remember saying that they were manufactured manuscripts. The Coptic Church, the Gnostics of Egypt in Egypt believed in that was their scriptures. So of course they wrote them based on how they identified Jesus, and also the demiurge and the creation through the monad, and then the Sophia, and then the demiurge, and then the demiurge was given the rights to rule over this earth by the monad, because the monad was too busy. I mean, monad is building all of creation. It's not going to be focused on just earth. But the demiurge built the earth without the wisdom, the feminine energy of the Sophia, which is how they explain why the earth is so jacked up. And that Jesus was teaching that those people, when he tells the Pharisees and Sadducees that you worship a father of lies, the devil, whatever, that they were worshiping the demiurge, the one that created out of just masculinity. And he was trying to bring them to an understanding of balance of the masculine and feminine energy in all creation, that the kingdom of God was all around. But he also messed up at the end when he said that I'm going to take Mary and make her like you males, because a woman was not deserving of heaven. Actually, we talked a lot about the Gnostics. If you go to YouTube and look at, because you can find it on Facebook, but it'll be a little bit harder. But on YouTube, there's a playlist for the reading of the Gospel of Thomas. So we talked about the Gnostics a lot more in there. There's no T in Wilmington. We say it with a T, Wilmington. Wimbledon. But it is Wimbledon. Going back to the subject of as above, so below, do you agree that the macro is also the micro? If so, have you heard of the Merkaba and its relation to the Merkel disc, or some would say Merkel cell in the epidermis of the skin? I've heard about everything until you got to the Merkel cell, disc or cell. But I do agree that the macro is also the micro. They affect one another and are one with our mirrors of each other. But I don't know about this Merkel cell. This is why whatever you do, this is why the lower can affect the higher and the higher can affect the lower. And when we were just talking about this the other day. Oh yeah, because Monday's live, Quinn, we talked about the Hermetic laws, and when we talked about the lower correspondence, we delved more into how depending upon what you are manifesting or focusing on, you have to be aware of whether or not you're working from the micro or you're going to work from the macro. Because knowing which to start from is very instrumental in how well you'll be able to manifest anything. So basically, Jesus never existed. Not the Jesus of the Bible or even the Nag Hammadi writings. Those are legendized versions of at least 4 different Jesus characters that existed in the 1st century BCE and 1st century CE. And then they were legendized and created, and because the Messiah that the people of that day were looking for didn't come. So they attached these legends to those people, as well as the Romans wanting to create a docile version of Judaism so that they will uphold Roman law. Oh shit! I forgot, Marcus, to go grab that the second part of Thomas and upload it. I'll check and see. Is it still available? If it's not available still, I know it's not available on my TikTok because they deleted my damn account. So I'm gonna have to. I'll have to find it on Facebook and download it from Facebook and put it on YouTube. No, Jesus as a person's multiple people who existed, who was trying to go against the Roman government. Yeah, there's some Yeshuas that Josephus talks about. So more than likely, those individuals, those four individuals that he talked about, it's possible that they existed. The biblical version of Jesus did not, but there are aspects of those 4 individuals from Josephus that are written into the Jesus story. So the Bible Jesus, any form of the Christian Jesus didn't exist. These people are making a killing in super chats, pumping fake in these end times prophecies. I know, like if I really, really wanted to make some money at this thing, I'd flip. Jesus is coming back, y'all. It's the end time prophecy. If y'all want to find Jesus, super chat me. Sadly, those who work at the Jesus figure know the historical figure archetypes painted over. Exactly, the archetype. Well, explains the Christ consciousness. Christ consciousness is an anointed consciousness that is above the realm of the consciousness of man. To put it into the Hermetic mindset, that would be the spiritual plane A. I mean, no, not spiritual plane A. Spiritual plane C. So that would be like your mind, your consciousness of your mind is that spiritual plane C, which would be above the earthen moral code, so to speak. If Jesus had Christ consciousness, then his consciousness would not have allowed for women to be put at second-class citizenship. He would have spoke against that instead of saying that I'm going to make Mary like you men. Mary would have been perfectly fine Mary Magdalene would have been perfectly fine to see and inherit the kingdom of God without her having to be converted over into a man. He would expressly said that a human sacrifice is unnecessary in order for you to obtain a forgiveness from the Ogdod or the monad or God or whatever you want to call it. Slavery would have been completely like hell no. So this Jesus character never got to an anointed consciousness, and that's what because Christ is just an anointed, but that he would have never gotten, but he never got there. None of the stories actually gets him there. He's still relegated to the culture of the people of that time frame. You guys know, last part I didn't answer. What do you think about the origin of the word amen? Because I'm getting different information. As far as my understanding of the word amen, I don't remember you asking me that question. Did you ask me that one last one? My bad. But most of the scholars, most of the anthropologists that I've read, they say that it comes from the worship of Ra, of the Kemetic, the Nubio-Kemetic god Ra, and this will be after Marduk assumed the role of Ra and started teaching about an afterlife of people going to live with the gods after they pass on, and so they had to give thanks to Marduk or Ra, and that's where the Amen comes from, because it's Amen Ra. And there's still considerable debate about that, because it does have a Hebrew meaning, but that Hebrew meaning is something that came later, because the Hebrew language is a language that is younger than the Kemetic, the Nubio-Kemetic language. Yep, history does always repeat. I ain't going on. Oh, somebody said that. Giving thanks to Ra. Yeah, I can't pimp people. Your favorite end time prophecy: Jesus is not yet coming to the flesh, waiting to keep his purity, so he just can't wait to take these proud boys. I believe Amen is a deviation from Amen Ra. Amen Ra. Jesus raised 3 from the dead, then he returned to heaven. Did he take those 3 with him? That's in itself enough, so the whole thing is a myth. He raised 3. Who were the 3? I know he got so you counting Lazarus and then the two jokers next to him, supposedly on the cross. According to the Bible, he says that in this day you will be with me in heaven. And so he took those people into heaven, but yet in Revelations it's saying that no one has went to heaven. You're sitting, you're waiting, you're in Abraham's bosom, is what the Christian would say, which is kind of like a limbo state, not quite heaven yet, but then once Armageddon happens, then you'll be in that. You leave Abraham's bosom to go into your final judgment, and then you get to go to heaven or hell, and that's where all the Old Testament people are. Don't ask me. I don't know this book by heart now. Revelation 3:14. An angel, and to the angel of the church of Laodicea writes, the words of the Amen and the faithfulness true witness. What does Amen mean in Greek? Right. So in the Greek, it just means so be it, which is similar to what Amen Ra, to say Amen, Amen Ra, you're giving credit for Ra to make it so. So the Greek has a similar. What does Amen mean in Aramaic? In the Aramaic Talmud, it means certainty, truth, certainty and truth, or God, trustworthy, God, the trustworthy king. No, wait, I mean, it's the acronym for El Mekhlek. Nah, some words I mess up. But according to like the Babylonian and the Assyrian take on Marduk, especially with the Babylonians, Marduk converted over to and took over Egypt and became the king over Egypt and changed his name to Ra. And then when you gave thanks to him, it was Amen Ra. You ended your thanks with Amen Ra, so let it be based on Ra, based on Marduk. That's why these things get so crazy, because if you look at different time frames and different groups, it changes. He raised a damsel and Lazarus and the third. I didn't know he raised a woman. Well, I know there was a sick girl. Was she dead? You're talking about the Roman centurion's daughter? What's happening in Israel? Civil war. That's been going on because they took land from the Palestinians, and the Palestinians are fighting back, and the world has supported Israel. The majority of the world has supported Israel in that effect of trying to genocide those people and stealing from those people. And you can only beat down people for so long before they bite back. But the Israelis are wrong. God got a waiting room. Yep. Abraham bosom. Ask a Christian who doesn't believe that you're at death, you go to heaven. Think about it. That's contrary to their teachings. Like people like say, oh yeah, my grandmother, she in heaven. Not according to your teaching. I used to piss people off when I was a Christian. I was like, no, she's not. She's not in heaven. The graves will give up their dead. The seas will give up their dead. They're not in heaven. So where they at? I don't know. They sleep. What was it? What is the sleep? Soul sleep. I like these soul sleep. Abraham's bosom, soul sleeping. Or maybe they're the ghosts that you hear knocking on the walls. But your grandmother ain't in heaven, and you ain't got a guardian angel. Guardian angel idea actually comes from the Muslims with the jinn. The Bible says he's the God of the living, so who's the God of the dead? Aren't we supposed to go to God when we die? That's what they try to tell you. God of the dead, he's gonna raise the dead. So that's why like soul sleep and all those things become popular teachings. Talking about Inky, which one wanted us more like them, and are they responsible for the Bible and the God Yahweh? Inky wanted us to have our freedom and not be just slaves. But Inky, people call him different ways, is not always good towards him, but Enlil certainly couldn't stand him. Now Enlil is the one who becomes El, and then El later is combined with Yahweh. Yahweh was a Canaanite storm deity and a wind deity, kind of like Shu for the Nubia Kemetic. Enki becomes the serpent, but Enlil is the Satan as well. And in the Job story, Enlil is the Satan and God is Anu. So those stories get mixed all up in that way. So they switch places, they switch around in different entities a lot. But yes, pretty much Enlil and Enki, Anu, the Sumerians are responsible for the Old Testament, which then gets the additions of all New Testament stuff. But God is created by man. These ideas of God, it's man-made. I had seen her. Oh, I'm talking to her. Been going for a bit, but yes, hell, it's one of the 9 realms. That's right. There was 9 realms in the. I don't know. I don't remember my Norse mythology as well. But yes, free Palestine. So you wouldn't get involved and waste your time. It's all made up BS for that negative energy. Yeah, the news is doing a good job. There was a one reporter. Oh, they fired rockets and killed one Israeli soldier and one woman civilian, and then Israel retaliated with mortar attack and artillery attack. But he didn't say how many people they killed. But then I saw a video later. They killed a bunch of men, women, and children. He ain't say nothing about the Palestinians who died. I think we're a long way from these wars getting to America. America is a huge ass country. It's too big to attack. To be fair, the harlot doesn't support Israel any more than it takes to lift them up upon her altar and adorn them with gifts. And she has become quite erratic ever since her little horn was dethroned and her grip over the beast has been failing. Oh, that's a good one to do. No doubt, demanding her pawn skull in peace, and talks about the coordinated attacks. So, are you saying the harlot is? Who are you saying the harlot is? Because some people say the harlot is the Vatican. No, the harlot was Rome, and then the Vatican became the little horn that rose up and had a mouth and eyes and all that. Unless I'm getting that wrong. I'm glad you listened to it. Now, they did trick me into going into some sports talk for a minute there, Mark. The immortality leads to Thoth spaceships buried near the Great Pyramids because Inky's underworld will be invading or already are. The one guy on YouTube says that he knows where the ship is buried. Mm-hmm. I don't know where the ship is buried, but I got a pretty good idea where the ship is buried. Yeah, and it's a bunch of propaganda. Nearly 2 million people in Gaza and 42%. Yeah, exactly. So if you launch an attack on Gaza, you're going to kill a lot of children. There's 2 million people there, and most of them are young. A lot of them are younger. Oh, America definitely supports Israel like a champ. And America wants Israel, needs Israel so we can have a foothold in that part of the world. Did you know that the Vatican is built on a Mithraic site? Yeah. And dude, you can go to Rome and see it, but you ain't got to go there. You can just look it up. Or I do like how they showed it in the Da Vinci Code, but not the Da Vinci Code one. Angels and Demons, the second book, Angels and Demons. No, they showed it in both of them. Is it Angels and Demons or the Angels and Demons? I think they show how a lot of the churches, they demonstrate how a lot of the churches were converted from Mithraic or other religious sites. But yes, the Vatican is built on a temple of Mithra, which is the true god is one of the true gods of Constantine and of Rome, Mithra and Apollo. Where's the ship? Under the Sphinx. Under the Sphinx. That is where I think it is. This is why there's a certain group that, if given the opportunity, I will gladly become a part of that group. Because then that would get me access. Oh yeah, we constantly we give Israel money every year. And I think it is like 3 billion every year. I know our initial investment was 3 billion, but I think we consistently give them like 3 billion every year. Yeah, invest the money in a strategic position in the Middle East. If you think about it, these Christians don't worship the same God that the Israelis worship. The gods are different. The gods split and became two separate deities once the Christians adopted Jesus and the Trinity. The Jews, they don't worship the Trinity. They don't worship Jesus. You think it's way up north? I think Enki's ship is under the Sphinx. I think Enlil and the majority, I think the majority of the Enlil and the majority of the Anunnakis are Antarctica. Oh, I'm sure there's more. I'm sure there's some black book budgets. I'm sure there's more. So the American way, keep them fighting and they'll expend all their energy to fight us. And that's all of us. Yeah. Hey, if you keep the other people fighting, then you can continue to grow and expand and build up your forces. Who's the harlot, Glenn? Who's the harlot? I understand what you're saying, but who are you designating as the harlot? Now, not that Glenn is doing this, but as we was talking with revelations and preaching and swerving people, that's a good statement that Glenn said of keeping something vague so that people, because most people will be afraid to ask. But to say that America and the Israeli government and Hamas are simply pawns playing into the hands of the harlot because she called them kings. This is the beast at work. America thinks, but America is under the spell. And this is why it is for us good Christians to put Donald Trump back in office, to fight against the harlot. Right. According to the Torah, Israeli believe that we belong in slavery, dark-skinned people being enslaved because of some asinine assumption of a curse from somebody called Ham in their blood, in their book. Yeah, they do. All dark-skinned people should be enslaved, according to them, according to Islam. They are supposed to, according to their book, we, the descendants of Ham, the descendants of Canaan, were supposed to be servants to the descendants of Shem and Japheth. When you were in the military, did you get a chance to go to Antarctica? A little bit. Just a little bit. Just for an exchange over. And that's when cross out. If I step over this line, if I go past this sign, you're gonna shoot me. But yeah, you're not really allowed to go into the real Antarctica. You can't. Even when you see most of these scientists who go down there, they're just going like either to the islands or the very initial part of the mainland, but they can't go into Antarctica. And it used to be 7 nations. I think it's now 10 nations rotate in guarding Antarctica. But just right there, that's it. If you think the ship is on the Sphinx, the government would have found it decades ago. It's possible that the government already knows that it's there. But there are aspects of the Sphinx that you're not allowed to go into. There's kind of a side door, back door entryway that they sealed up to not allow you to go into there. There's a doorway under the left paw, and you're not allowed to go under there. Most excavations are not allowed to go into the Sphinx or under the Sphinx. When there was in the 70s, I think 70s or 80s, there was a film crew that was going to film under the Sphinx, and they said that they were saying that there's a city, a 8 mile by 8 mile city up under the Sphinx, and they weren't allowed. They were going to film, but then the Egyptian government wouldn't allow it at the last minute, told them that they couldn't film it, couldn't go in it because they wanted an extra $1 million, and they wouldn't pay it. And I think it might have been NBC, and then they wouldn't pay it, so they wouldn't go. So although there's something under there, they won't give them access. They won't give people access to it. You know, they're a very special group that supposedly have access to it. In my opinion, Israeli is just a military tool to have access to the Suez Canal. Well, the Suez Canal is in Egypt. Now, I do understand how Israel at one point had the Sinai Peninsula and then gave it back to Egypt. But the Suez Canal is owned by Egypt, which I have a really good picture of a mosque that is like halfway down or at some point through the Suez Canal that I took from the ship. It's a really good picture. I didn't find that. Like under the Vatican. Yeah, like under the Vatican is huge space under the Vatican. Who is this? Who is the group? All I know them by is the Pyramid Priest. If they have another name, I don't know if they have another name, but the name that I know them by is the Pyramid Priest. And it sounds straight Indiana Jones-ish. I've only heard whispers about them. Whether it was, what is the thing called? Conspiracy theories, or through other group affiliations, I've only heard whispers of the Pyramid Priest. Two black underneath. Two black underneath. I don't know what you mean by that one. Not for about another 100 years. What, get a chance to go up under there? I think it's crazy, right, that many Jews and Christians would support a war in Israel to attack Palestinians based off of a alleged group called Hamas that makes up a tiny percentage of the Palestinians. True, and it's not just Hamas. There are other groups and affiliates that are fighting back against Israel that are over there. It's not just Hamas. But the fact that I think it's rather, was it the Israeli group? And you know, things go back and forth. Just like Castro was America's friend and then he became their enemy. I think Hamas was originally created by either America or Israel. One of them initially supported Hamas in their creation as a governing body. But then, just like in time, different people become in charge and you change. You like, fuck, to hell with y'all. But it is ridiculous that you would support something like that. But people do. Before World War II, before America got involved in World War II, there were plenty of Americans who supported the Third Reich. And then once we fought against them, then those people, that was actually a big concern for the American government, because in the North Midwest, like all that Milwaukee, Chicago area, all that, they were actually very heavy on German support, and they thought that it might have been a big problem for them to support England, and it was a debate to support England or to support Germany or to just stay out of the war. But through some good propaganda and that sort of thing, they convinced the people that it was better for them to support the Allies instead of the Axis. And because a lot of those people were firstborn or immigrated from Germany prior to the war starting. Yeah, they gave Sam the key to the city in Detroit, I think. Yes, I've heard that before. I didn't look it up, but I heard that one. And it's always going to be there. You're my friend today, you're my enemy tomorrow. Hell, just in my little life, I've experienced that one. The story of the four sons of Noah, three sons of Noah, is the racist plagiarized tale, right? Japheth, Shem, and Ham. Are all land structures that actual people. Ham, particularly, is the international demonstration of Hebrew horse and indigenous people of the earth. I'm not so sure about that one. I've never heard that one, put it that way. Because they took these stories as literal and thinking that they were the original people that created and migrated into these areas. Because the descendants of Ham became the Canaanites, the people of Put. But they took these as literal stories that this is where man migrated across the planet. Even though there's some contradiction within the story, because it says that the ones who became the sea people, the Phoenicians, I think Japheth's children, spoke many different languages. But then you get later into this story of Babel, the Tower of Babel, and everybody spoke the same language. But earlier said that they already spoke different languages. An African American military organization would be great, but America would fund against us. Go fuck up Egypt and Israel. They would, just like they did with the Black Panthers, but we have to have the resolve to stick with it no matter what they try to do. Isn't it weird you don't hear of ISIS in Palestine? Why would you hear about ISIS in Palestine? Oh, ISIS, the group. I'm thinking about ISIS, the Greek name for the Kemetic set. Yeah, you don't, because they're not the popular group right now. Christians have long assumed that the harlot serves the beast. Right, because that's the Jezebel. I was just wondering if that's who you meant. And if she did, she would be so fearful to hear other beasts rousing from their slumber and losing her grip over the turn. Would not come to hate her. And the only question that remains is, will the beasts consume their own tail just in order to be rid of her? See, I like how he's keeping it just vague enough that you can attach different groups or different people as the harlot. I like that. So good. 16 peeps here. How many firstborns? Oh, you asking a question to the group. Free South Africa. South Africa is free. And black folks running South Africa. Remember not too long ago, the big media story was the fact that South Africans were kicking Europeans off the land and taking back the land. I am not a firstborn. I am the baby. I am the last born. Do I think that there is land beyond Antarctica? Nope. I am not a flat earther. They poor people. Who's poor people? South African society has changed tremendously over the last 20 years. The opportunities that the South African black people have taken to grow economically has been tremendous. Now, it's still going to take time. I mean, they had hundreds of years of colonization and apartheid. So it's going to take time. Now, they will have a faster rise than black people in America, because they will not have to go through another 200 years of Jim Crow. I don't know. Is my South African guy on here? One of my Brian's, I think, is in South Africa. So, Brian, you're in South Africa, right? Then 80% of the land is still owned by white people. I was just saying I'm not a flat earther, so I believe that there is land past. I don't think there is any land past Antarctica. It's the South Pole. That's all. Wasn't clowning. Just he asked a question. I gave an answer. Then I moved on. Valentino, you know I got you, bro. We good on everything else. All right, Brian, you're from South Africa. So, but are they? So answer this. From my understanding, Brian, South Africa is not experiencing the Jim Crow type laws, rules, and situation that we had, that our ancestors had to go through, that my parents had to go through. Am I correct or incorrect on that? Because I know some brothers who went to South Africa and started a diversity firm, and they were making a killing by helping companies to create diversity plans and programming within the government. And they initially was working with the government mostly, and then started working with companies as well. They own land and are the majority, so it shouldn't take that long. I'm saying no. So you telling me you're not trying to go beyond the ice wall? I don't think there is an ice wall. So no. I only want to go back to Antarctica for two reasons. One, I want to dip my toe in the Arctic Ocean. Wait a minute, the Antarctic Ocean, because I want to touch every body of water that I can possibly touch. And then, I want to see what's past the area to which you are authorized to go. Like, what's been hidden? Is that where the Anunnaki are? And you're trying to hide that, and you created a deal with them? Like, what's back there? They still have statues of colonizer. Before apartheid ended, it was similar to before apartheid, it was similar to Jim Crow. But since apartheid has ended, are they still dealing with? Is it they don't have the Jim Crow kind of rules, right? There are so many photos of the ice wall. Literal photos or created photos? Photos of the ice wall. Now, I can look at all these images, but this will be just like, so when people I know who have went to taking Alaskan cruises, they've got pictures of these giant iceberg walls. And this is up north in the Arctic. But that's just nature at work. You're in this climate that's going to create these huge glaciers. So now what I do know, when you fly into Antarctica, you will fly over stuff like this, right? But we fly past it. I don't know if I can get this right. you will fly past that and you see these big glaciers. Did that picture switch on me? That wasn't the one I had at first. Yeah, this is the one I had up there at first. But we flew past that. But it was only like 9 miles in that you fly past it. So yeah, there are those, but those are big ass. You can go to Greenland and see big ice wall glaciers, but that doesn't necessarily say that there's a circular ice wall around the planet, around the plane. And here's the thing about it. Although it is governed by the military, if there was an ice wall, and this is my thing, liver flows now, yeah, like I just showed you that. But I'm just saying I can find a similar thing up in the Arctic. There is not enough military in the world to monitor. When you look at those, how they show you like the flat earth and they got the ice ring around it, there's not enough military in the world to keep you from flying, everybody from flying through there, to keep it guarded 100%. Somebody would have snuck past there by now. Right now, there's the ANC government who is black, but yes, those apartheid days are done. Okay, right. So their ability to climb the economic ladder should be easier and faster than what my parents and grandparents went through and great grandparents. And they shouldn't support these types of wars. All you're doing is giving away your tax dollars for things that aren't important to us, really shouldn't be important to us. Oh, you were born in South Africa and immigrated to the United States, but you came back to South Africa in 2018. So how is it down there now? And are you black, Brian? I'm just asking. I don't know. Because perspectives can be different based on that. There's enough technology now to, well, even with the even with the amount of technology we have, there are still ways to get past it. Okay, you mixed. Oh shit. It was probably, I've heard, what's the comedian? He talks about his life growing up in South Africa. Um, he was doing the Daily Show for a while. Uh, he was talking about how hard it was being a mixed child in South Africa. Yeah, Trevor Noah. But from watching African news, it seems to me that, and other African news and YouTube channels, it seems like South African, especially this generation that's in their 20s, have tremendous opportunities of growth. You love to hear about your family lives in Colorado. Yeah, I thought you was living there because I was talking about how you getting ready to go. You getting ready to go into your summertime. Yeah, so we're twins when it comes to capitalism and religion. I would agree with you there. Some seriously religious people. But as always, the oppressed is always going to be more religious than the oppressor. A birthday is cyclical and comes around each year or seasons. Um, I think in flat Earth they still have seasons and excuse me and birthdays, because it's just the difference is the sun is going around the earth, going around the plane. So there's still a cycle of a year with the birthday. I think I'm not 100% sure about it, but they still have that, but it's not the earth going around the sun. It's the sun going around the earth a certain number of times and having seasons. But it is time to get off here. I got to make some more videos before Angelina gets off work in 2 hours. And I need to eat lunch because I am starving. Y'all may not notice, but cigars speed up it depletes sugar in your blood. This is why people who smoke cigars, they get hungry or they're always drinking something or eating something, because you got to replenish the sugar in your blood. But this has been a great conversation. I honestly woke up this morning and saying, like, I don't know what the hell we're going to talk about today. And it literally hit me about 10 minutes before we started. So it's been a great conversation. But we will. Oh, tonight, 7 p.m. I'm coming back on live tonight. Now, we have Ernestine Jackson is going to be on with me. We're going to be talking about health and fitness and healing yourself through food and how you eat. Damn, I meant to say that at the beginning of this video. But tonight, we're going to be talking about that 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You'll have Ernestine Jackson on. She ate her way into curing herself from cancer. So she's going to be on tonight. So if you guys are available, then I want you here. If you're not available, then make yourself available. Okay? I don't care what you got planned. You make yourself available 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to have Ernestine on here. There might be some Bible stuff. I don't know. We'll see how the conversation goes. But the focus is definitely going to be because I will get bored out of my mind if all we talked about is the same subject all the time. I have to talk about economics from time to time. I have to talk about some political things. I have to talk about anti-racist things or just equality of life, because to truly raise the consciousness of all of us, we have to see in every other aspect of how we increase our consciousness and our thought process. Deconstructing is not just deconstructing from the Bible itself, but also from the cultural conditionings that we have that can be based on the Bible or just from lower vibrational things. This is why I have to talk about the hermetics from time to time, the chakras from time to time, so that we can raise our consciousness. How you eat also affects that ability to raise your consciousness, right? If you're constantly filling yourself with things that don't have life or high vibration to it, then you're affecting your mind's ability to elevate itself. So I have to talk about other things. Otherwise, I would get so bored. This is why back in the day, I used to only produce like one video a day or 2-3 videos a week, because I would get bored as shit. And I think about too many different things to just talk about one thing. So there might be some Bible stuff here and there, and not all of it will be bad, because just on top of the head, there's a few things that the Bible does talk about as far as health and eating that is beneficial. All right. So so 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, be there. All right. And so that we can all gain some more information about different types of things we can do to improve our health, which improves our consciousness. So y'all have a great day. And remember, always, you got to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. The journey, the vibrations. And I'm going to negotiate my way around this glass and clean up. Yep, 7 p.m.